We in the building. Trap life. It's Den. I'm off in the trap with a bunch of work. Grinding real hard, trying to get a bird. Coke and baking soda, rock it with a fart. Ain't no fucking lights, we mix it in the dark. Still off in the kitchen cause I'm on a mission. You wanna get rich, I suggest you listen. Whole thing of work, whole thing of midget. And as soon as it's gone, it's time to hit the city. Brand new Gucci shoes, I bought my girl a purse. I know these niggas hating, they gon' need a hearse. Hop up out that lat with them paper tags. Got these niggas mad like I hate his ass. I'm counting up money in my living room. Certified hustler, yeah, I can make it boom. You don't know who I am, yeah, they call me Den. Trap life CEO, I get them Benjamins. You know I keep that fire like a blowtorch. So them junkies in the line on my front porch. Keep that 83 parked in the backyard. If I don't know you, I'ma serve you through my burglar bar. I got racks, bitch, I make them stack quick. You can't miss me, I'm in the trap, bitch. This that true shit, straight out the blue shit. 1200 blocks, sell it by the bell shit. You on my hit list, I got a sick wrist. Since I'm a trap nigga, I need a trap bitch. I got 6 bricks, and I keep licks. I'm on that street shit, I gotta eat, bitch, yeah. Man, they already know what time it is. Official 1200 block shit. It's Den. Trap life. Hit that like button. Haters gon' hate anyway, man. Subscribe to the channel. This in the lab live. Used to bake pies, now I'm on YouTube on In the Lab Live. Hit the like button, yep, go ahead, subscribe. Ain't no telling what you see, it's gonna be a long ride. Better open up your eyes, cause we be in the bitch till 7 in the morning. Coffee in one hand and the sweet got me zoning. Blocking all the haters, shout out my moderators. They make the show greater, main reason why we made it. So up on the top, I can't see the ground. Got these niggas mad, they love when I was down. Now nigga up, and they can't tell me shit. Shout out to Scale Gang and all my people in this bitch. I got haters, I got friends, I got product, I got ends. If I ever get a plaque, I know they gon' hate me then. Still rolling in that lack slow, hotter than Tabasco. Don't matter what you buying, I can get you what you ask for. Hottest in the streets, where these niggas can't compete. We be grinding while they sleep, yeah, 7 days a week. I ain't tripping on the docks, tell them niggas come box. Right, knock them out of socks, boy, you must be smoking rocks. Hey! This in the Lab Live, man. Subscribe to the channel, man. Shout out to everybody in the building, man. Can y'all hear me out there? Let me know if y'all can hear me out there. Can y'all hear me out there? Gotta change the logo, wrong logo. Let's get back to the right logo. What we doing? Let's go over here. Yeah, we're gonna stick that up there for right now. We're gonna put the right one up here. Here we go. Bam, there it go. Yeah, shout out to everybody in the building. Can y'all hear me? You know what I'm saying? Make sure you double tapping that screen. That's how you hit the like button, man. We in the building, man. Shout out to the sidewalk in the building, man. Mister, I got all the content. Understand that. Yeah, real talk. All right. Yeah, we most definitely exercise the copyright act of 1976. You know what I'm saying? On all videos played, they are most definitely for education and commentary purposes. You know what I'm saying? What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? Shout out to everybody in the building. What's up, y'all? You know what I'm saying? I don't know if y'all been covering, following David's situation, man. There's been a lot going on over there, man, that I wasn't even privy to. I had fell back for a minute. But it seems like there's about to be an arrest in that case, guys. You know what I'm saying? It seems like it's about to be arrest in that case. Now, they speculate whether David or his manager. Remember the house that they went and raided over there? They went and raided that house, you know, basically after they found the young girl's body, they went and raided that house. Well, it seems like the person who rented him the house, his producer or manager or something like that, something to do with him, you know, may be the one to get arrested. Basically, they saying that he knows more than anybody, so they need to milk him for information. Plus, it was a report that they know who moved the body. It was something about them saying that, we had got news that the body was frozen, and basically the head may have been taken off, this, that, and the third. Like they said it was basically chopped up into pieces. But come to find out, that does not be what that is, man. I don't know. It's conflicting reports on the whole situation, man. We here to get to them all, man. Make sure you, like I said, if you be there, the sound of my voice, double tap that screen. We most definitely in here, man. Let's get to some of the report. Hold on, let me pull this up. Hold up. Make sure I got this right. Hold on. All right. All right. We just gonna go here. All right. So coming up first is David's. It says that a private eye in this case feels like he know who allegedly moved the bodies, guys. You on the wall too? Absolutely, Cupcake. You know what I'm saying? Most definitely. That's where we at. You know what I'm saying? That's where we at. All right, so let me share this. Yeah, man, I gotta consult with my over at crime. They're gonna give you the paperwork as well as the story and let you know how it all falls into place, guys, when it comes to this situation. But this ain't the only situation. You know what I'm saying? There's most definitely more. Hold on. But let's start here.
David may officially be a suspect in connection with the death of 14-year-old Rivas Hernandez. After this missing girl's decomposed body was found in his car 2 months ago, this is a major development. Strange, considering recent reports, but major nonetheless. Oh, and TMZ is now reporting that LAPD may now be looking at this as a homicide case. If all of this is in fact true, what is this homicide and this investigation? Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Yeah, so they're gonna be looking at it as a homicide.
Like content creation.
Oh, look.
Have you ever wondered?
We ain't even finna do no promo. Let's fast forward right through that. Let's get to these details. So, shout out to everybody in the building. Make sure you double tap.
The back and forth on this story is so confusing, to say the least. I mean, we just reported yesterday that TMZ came out and confirmed that the LAPD told them that there were no arrests that are imminent in the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose decomposed body was found in a Tesla that was registered to singer David. Her body was found September 8th.
But that seems to be following because there's been testimony going on in front of the grand jury, guys. And y'all know what that means. Somebody that it's a secret witness. Somebody is being questioned behind all of this, and there's a potential for somebody to go to jail. And it may not be David.
But now, outlets like TMZ and ABC News, they have just reported that sources confirmed to them that David, real name David Anthony Burke, is now considered a suspect. Now, the LAPD didn't come out and say this for sure. They didn't confirm it, but this is what is being reported. And TMZ, by the way, reported that they are being told that the LAPD is in fact looking at this as a homicide investigation. And they even cite how a source is reportedly telling them that the investigation found that David allegedly took a trip in spring 2025 to this remote area in Santa Barbara County, there for several hours. TMZ does warn, though, that they haven't double-sourced this information. But it should be noted, we don't know when Celeste died. Reports indicate that she may have been dead for quite some time. Steve Fisher, the private investigator who was hired by the owner of the property that David was staying at, which here where the Tesla was found, he said there's proof of life photo of Celeste from January 2025. Publicly, though, there have been no confirmed videos or photos of Celeste since 2024. Now, all of this new reporting, I have to be clear, all of this new reporting, we can't 100% confirm if this is true. In fact, E-News,
it took them long enough, yeah. I didn't think nobody was going to be picked up, but evidently, man, you know what I'm saying? Somebody is being picked up, guys. I'm just saying, they was eyeing David, but it might not be David. That's all I can tell y'all for right now. Let's keep going.
A spokesperson said they couldn't confirm this reporting because this is an ongoing active investigation. This idea that David is a suspect, that is backed up also by NBC Los Angeles, who says they spoke to an LAPD source with direct knowledge of the investigation. By the way, the same source who confirmed that David is no longer cooperating with law enforcement in this case. Again, that's the allegation. LAPD hasn't come out and said that officially.
Cupcake, that's what they say. You gonna see.
I actually want to read you, before I even get to that, I want to read you a direct quote from NBC4 Los Angeles. Quote, police tell NBC4 Investigates that Celeste's death likely occurred in the spring and that David likely had help in dismembering and disposing of the body. To be clear again, no arrests have been made as yet. Okay? Why this is so confusing, aside from what I just mentioned with TMZ reporting that LAPD told them there's no imminent arrests, LAPD told KTLA, what was it, last week, that they stand by their prior news release that, quote, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner has not yet determined the cause or manner of Ms. Rivas Hernandez's death. As such, it remains unclear whether there's any criminal culpability beyond the concealment of her body. So is the reporting suggesting that he is the suspect in the concealment of the body?
No.
And by the way, that is true. When it comes to the ME, it doesn't appear that there is a change, that this manner and cause of death have been listed or have been determined.
I wish they would make their minds up if they gonna charge him or not charge him. All this changing every day is really confusing and the rest of the people.
Once that comes in, though, once the toxicology results come in, we're going to have a better understanding of what happened here. But according to ABC, their sources say the ME will, in fact, make a determination soon. And ABC News is reporting that according to sources, Celeste, this girl from Lake Elsinore, California, who was reported missing last year, her body was dismembered when it was found in that car, and that the dismemberment and the disposal likely involved more than one person, and that law enforcement have been in touch with several people who are somehow connected or involved in this case. What do we make of this? Let me bring in Colin L. Schmidt, retired FBI agent, president, CEO of Kronos Litigation Experts. Thank you so much for coming on. What does it mean to be a suspect? Let's start there. What's the definition of a suspect?
Well, a suspect means they have predicated an investigation in person that's kind of lower, or a reasonable suspicion. So they have a reasonable suspicion that the person may be involved in a crime. They don't necessarily have probable cause or beyond a reasonable doubt, but right now they're at the point of reasonable suspicion. So now that means they're up their resources to really lean in on this person, if in fact they are a suspect, because that has not been confirmed.
Hey, do any of y'all out there feel like David is guilty?
Officially by LAPD.
They confirm it? Like, you think they'll come out today, tomorrow, and say, yes, he's a suspect?
No, they're not going to do that. In fact, I'm sure the district attorney's office is a bit irritated that these leaks are coming out, if in fact they are truthful and they are confirmed, because it impacts their ability to move forward with their investigation, because now that if he indeed is a suspect, then everybody around him is going to be ready when law enforcement starts knocking on their doors, if they haven't already knocked on their doors.
Can you expand upon that? Why is that such a danger to label him as a suspect at this point? Is the idea people, like you said, people won't talk, he might do something? Again, we don't know for sure, but what is the danger of him being publicly labeled a suspect?
Well, the first part is everybody in his circle is going to lawyer up, because if they have any information about this, they're going to protect themselves if indeed he is a suspect. Secondly, it provides a danger to law enforcement. Now everybody's kind of on edge. So when they go knock on those doors, if the person that they thought was a witness was culpable or participated in this, it could be a danger to that law enforcement when they're knocking on the door, and if that person wants to protect themselves from being found out. So when these leaks happen, it's really frustrating as a retired law enforcement officer to see this, because it just makes the job of the detectives that much harder.
If he is in fact a suspect, does law enforcement know where he is right now? Because we don't know where he is.
I would make the assumption they do. They've probably been tracking.
First they say he's suspect, then they ain't suspect, then they go back to suspect again. They need to make their minds up.
Him per se, since the day the body was found, and they identified him as being the owner of the car. But we don't know if he's in the United States or if he's in some foreign country. And depending on which foreign country it is, if he is in fact a suspect and he is charged, then they're going to have to go through a process of extradition, which could make this case go on for a very long time.
Does a suspect always lead to an arrest?
No. So, like I said, it's a reasonable suspicion. And so those homicide detectives with LAPD, which my biased opinion are probably the best in the world, they're going to run down every single lead to make sure that they have the right person. And they're also going to look into hypotheses that lead them to make sure they have the right person, because ultimately their goal is to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. So they can't just go out and decide, okay, this is a suspect, and then focus their entire investigation on him or her. They have to run out all the leads to make sure they have the right person.
When I mentioned whiplash before, you can understand why I said that, right? I mean, if the reporting, you take all the reporting is true, that LAPD comes out and said there's no arrests that are on the horizon, and yet now it's being reported he may be a suspect. Can two things be true at once? Can he be a suspect, but there's no arrest that's imminent?
Absolutely. So like I said, they still have to do their investigation. They don't want to arrest anybody and have to release them because they got the wrong person. So they're still gathering their information. They're still interviewing people. They're still waiting for the E or the toxicology reports to come back, because somebody of this profile, and then frankly, they've been burned in the past by pulling the trigger, so to speak, too soon. The DA office wants to make sure all the ducks are in a row before they move on anybody that's involved in this.
Before I even go into, possibly being investigated as a homicide, if this is true, do you think he's been a suspect for quite some time?
Most definitely believe this is a homicide.
Do you think David knew that he was being classified as a suspect? If it's true, we don't know for sure. Hired Blair Burke, this high-powered criminal defense attorney to very prominent stars, hired her last month, transferred homes to his mother's name. Do you...
When Cash Patel and them gonna get involved? They catch people like next day. You know what I'm talking about? Cash Patel and them catch people like 2 days later. When they gonna get in there, you know what I'm saying, to solve this whole thing?
I think it is possible that we may only now be learning that he's classified as a suspect. It's not been official. LAPD hasn't come out and said it yet. But is it possible that they declared a suspect for quite some time?
Well, in the concept of declaring a suspect, I think the LAPD doesn't declare. Maybe a person of interest would be at the best where they officially declare somebody a part of the investigation.
This case need Cash Patel or Pam Bundy or somebody. Where they at? This is a very high profile case. I'm just saying. I'm surprised that the FBI ain't on it. If the FBI was on it, we'd have had a suspect or arrest like yesterday with video footage. I'm just saying, Lord have mercy.
But the bottom line, or the logic here, is all the data points were pointing to him, specifically upon him being the owner of that car and then occupying the residence that was near where the car was found. So as soon as that came out in the media, I'm sure that's when he hired his lawyer, and I'm sure that's when he started taking actions to protect himself and to protect his assets.
Okay.
There was a theory, because this is new, there was a theory that, yes, it was his car. Maybe he's not connected to it in any way. Maybe he didn't know who was operating his car. He was on tour. He wasn't part of her body being moved there. If you take all this reporting as true, as I mentioned, what do you think's leading them to believe that he was, in fact, potentially, we'll put aside this homicide investigation. What do you think is leading them to believe he was somehow connected to the disposal of her body, moving her body?
It was his car. I'm just saying, man. It was in his car, parked outside his yard. Come on, man. What are we doing? That's what led us to believe he got to be connected some kind of way.
Well, statistically speaking, a homicide is done by somebody that knows the victim. So this basic logic or statistics will show that's the first person. You're going to look at anybody that has a romantic relationship with this young lady first. Then the second part is, okay, the car was found with the body dismembered, and it was his car, and it was found near his house that he occupied. And so the data points are all leading in one direction. Doesn't mean
and this man gonna ask, what leads you to think that he's a suspect in all of this? The car, the body inside the car, the freezer that was big enough to house a body in. All this stuff that y'all telling us over all these months has been going on is what lead us to believe that he just may be a suspect, not to mention the bloody shirt. I know some of it may be circumstantial. I'm just saying, though, a hearsay. But they asked, I'm telling them, that's what pointed me in this direction, that he might have something to do with it.
Did this? It's just they still have to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. But the bottom line is that his relationship with her is well documented. And because of that, they're going to follow up on those leads and find out what happened. And based upon the fact that the body was dismembered, it's likely that he had, or not he, but somebody had help doing that, because to dismember a body, there's a lot of effort into that.
Again, we're looking on the outside, but when I spoke to Steve Fisher, right, he said, based on my conversation with him, based on what I'm reading, it doesn't appear that there is surveillance footage of David driving the car, putting a body.
Yeah, boss lady. They still unsure. They think he got something to do with it, then they think he don't. Then they think he do, and they think he don't. And they think he do, and then they throw you another curveball. It's a lot going on, man. Like, yeah, I'm gonna say it again. Where is Kash Patel and the FBI?
And anything like that. He had mentioned that there was evidence in the house that would suggest there might have been planning of disposing a body. Do you think that this is true, that suspect in her disposal, in the disposal of her body, maybe the mutilation of her body? Do you think there's communications they got a hold of? Do you think there's witnesses who have said something? Maybe there's other surveillance footage that we don't know of. Because if he's not point blank on camera moving a body or moving the car, there has to be something else that's been happening behind the scenes.
Well, I'm going to look at it from another perspective. The way the body was found, it doesn't appear that this is a cartel hit or something, or somebody that's very sophisticated. It looks to me like it's somebody who's not very sophisticated. And if in fact he is a suspect, he's only 20, 21 years old. So he doesn't have a long criminal history and a very sophisticated nature of how to hide a body, to be participatory in crime. So to answer your question, I think there's lots of evidence out there that's pointing to the people who did this. And then we go back to the car itself. It's a rolling supercomputer. Got so much data coming out of the computer.
Right. I feel that. He said they ain't even try to cover it up. I feel you, my guy. Yeah, I don't know why so sloppy. Maybe because he's only 21 years old. You're working off stuff he's seen in the movies. You know, chop it up there and they won't be able to identify. Put it in the freezer. Like, yeah, he doing that stuff he's seen on TV.
It's in that car. Like I said before, I'm confident that they're going to find out who did this and who participated in her disposal.
If it's also true with TMZ reporting that this is possibly now a homicide case, a homicide investigation, we don't know for sure.
Right. They use the cameras fully situation. Why not use them in this situation? You know, he says the Tesla has 7 to 10 cameras. Well, why they ain't putting them to work, my guy? See, it's so many things. This, like, they should have been had those cameras the first day. Kash Patel and the FBI would have had, you know, that camera, a camera on the they took the camera off the telephone pole, all that, off the light pole. They would have had all that. That's why they need to get Kash Patel and them in.
If that is true, that's a 180 too. That's a 180 from what LAPD had said, that they might not be investigating this other than just a concealed body case. Either LAPD didn't know at the time, something changed, or LAPD wasn't being entirely transparent with the media because they didn't want to tip off about what the investigation's really about. Talk to me about why you might see that kind of 180 there. And, you know, it's interesting because when we took that information and we're thinking, well, wait a minute, if it's not a homicide investigation, how did she die? Theories of drugs being involved and overdose, we don't know for sure. If it's a homicide investigation, which, by the way, you could potentially have a homicide investigation even if drugs are involved, but do you think LAPD was being honest? Do you think something changed? If this is true, if the TMZ reporting is true, that this is now a homicide investigation, explain to me that 180.
Well, we're saying LAPD hasn't given anything out official, so we're just operating on anonymous sources. Secondly, if indeed it was started out as a disposal or a dismemberment and went to homicide, that leads me to believe that they either have an independent data point in terms of somebody told them something that this led to a homicide, and or they had a preliminary review of the medical examiner's report and saw indicia of violent acts on the body. Even though the body was dismembered and was in a state of decomposition, the medical examiner is still going to be determined cause of death based upon what's happened to the bones or the lacerations or the state that it's in. So it just tells me there was a data point that came out that led them to believe this, if in fact it's true, because we're still operating on anonymous sources.
As far as I know, when you look at the site, the medical examiner hasn't listed for this case the cause and manner of it. It hasn't been publicized. Do you think that law enforcement has spoken to the ME? They know it. It's just not being published at this point. Or if there is a delay, why a delay in a case like this?
Well, I think it comes right back to the media attention here, is because once you and the DA's office in LA, as well as the LAPD, is very experienced with the media. They know once they release that ME report, that's going to cause another round of speculation and media firestorm. So they want to hold their cards very close to them while they're gathering all their facts, because once you let the horses out of the barn, you can't let them back in. And I'm fairly confident that they know what's in that ME report. It's just a matter of time before it does officially come out. And I would suspect it won't come out until they actually have a charging document along with it.
I know I sound like a broken record, but I'll say it again. Assuming these allegations are, assuming this reporting is true, this Santa Barbara trip is bizarre, no?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, what was going on there? Why up there? I mean, why
might be they interested in it if it's true? Why are they interested in it?
Well, just taking a follow hypothesis, that might be where this criminal act occurred. And that might be in the computer of that Tesla showing that the to and from, and with that information. And frankly, there might be video of the people who were involved in this walking around the car. I mean, we just don't know until that information is released. But the point is, there is a lot of data, a lot of evidence that's surrounding this. And whomever did it was not very sophisticated, because frankly, the body was found.
What would be the charge if you're talking about concealing a body? My understanding is in California, if you conceal an act of death, that's a misdemeanor. There is willfully mutilating a body. I believe that could be a felony. Maybe evidence tampering. What do you see that could be
cameras with the lifestyle? But I can't recall the time.
Well, depending on what was going on, they might actually, whoever helped,
artists,
if there was somebody that helped dispose of the body, they could also be roped in as an accessory to murder, which is actually the serious charge. That's a felony, and that's very long stretch in prison. So it's essentially like a conspiracy that you would charge in federal court. So if there was a group of people involved in this, everybody is looking at a very long stretch in federal or in state prison, because of the fact that she was died and she was dismembered, and the way in the state that she was found in, and the fact that the victim's family wants justice, as well as the public.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're dealing with allegedly drugs being involved,
the public, we want arrest too. We want you to hurry up.
There are ways you could bring homicide charges, particularly if you're furnishing drugs to a minor and there is some sort of overdose. I'm not saying that's what happened, but just something to be thinking about here. We try to make sense of what
and that's a good
going on here.
And that's a good point. In federal law, it's strict liability. So if a drug dealer gives drugs to a person, they die, they can be charged with basically a sentence, which is 15 years to life. So there could even be a charge here if she did die of a drug overdose.
To be clear, the reporting indicates that no case has been presented to a prosecutor, but that doesn't necessarily mean that prosecutors aren't working with law enforcement. In other words, let's say there's a lot of people, and let's say they come to them and say, we could charge you with X, Y, and Z right now, but if you cooperate, that has to be a conversation with the prosecutor's office as well. Right? I mean, do you think the prosecutors and investigators are working hand in hand, maybe in these interviews, if there are interviews happening?
Absolutely, and that's the way it's done in the federal system. And then in these high-profile cases, there's tight coordination between the LA DA's office as well as LAPD. I'm sure there's communications ongoing, because the DA's office wants to have oversight to make sure there's no mistakes made. Not that the LAPD would, but the bottom line is the DA's office has to defend all of LAPD's actions in court. So they're going to make sure all the ducks are in a row and they're doing everything by the book, because this is such a high-profile incident. They don't want to have another OJ problem on their hands. They want to make sure this is clean, straightforward, and then all the facts are presented to a jury if and when that does happen.
And let me just add this. Talk about this case a lot. It's in the media a lot. People are invested. People care. My heart goes out to the family. My heart goes out to the family, not only for their loss, but trying to navigate this. And
man, listen, my only thing is I be feeling like they need to go pick the mama With her and such a young girl, what is she even doing with a grown man standing at his house? You know, that type of thing right there. We need to pick up everybody who knew that she was over there with this grown man. I'm just saying, though, like, come on now. Why they ain't, man, listen, that's just me, though.
If they are kept in the dark, Colin, from law enforcement, I'll ask you whether or not you think that they are, if they have more information than the public does, whether they should, whether law enforcement should share more details with the family than law enforcement. It's back and forth. This, one day it's this, one day that, I have to imagine is incredibly distressing and incredibly frustrating. But do you think family is getting more information than the media right now?
It's kind of is where the law enforcement shared information with families, and the family went right out and had a press conference. So we have to see what comes out, and we don't know what that level of trust is between the family and law enforcement. And the LA District Attorney's Office does have a victim witness bureau or group that does interact with victims of violent crime. So to answer your question, we just don't know. The bottom line is this is a young lady who was killed or who was found dismembered. We don't know if she was killed. And that's a tragedy beyond comprehension, as a dad, that this happened. And so with all this media firestorm, we still have to remember that there's a victim here and there's a family standing behind that victim, which is just such a tragedy.
It is a tragedy. It is sad. And hopefully we get some answers here. Colin L. Schmidt, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And that's all we have for you.
And they just might be, my guy. Hold on. My guy say, man, I think they may be illegal or something. That's why they haven't been heard from. But yeah, bro, like it is most definitely crazy, that the mom basically allowed her to go stay with this man. Now, when it comes to this whole situation, guys, I know one person that ain't finna play with him. She gonna call it how she see it, you know what I'm saying? And she called everybody, said, let's go over here for some more details on this whole David situation, guys. Hold on. You know what I'm saying? Let me pull it right up. Yeah, she ain't gonna play with him. Shout out to Nancy. Nancy right on their rooftop. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? She responds to David being potentially a suspect or something like that. But in a second, it's gonna blow your mind because they say David ain't a suspect. I'm just saying, which one is it? Let's go.
The suspect, teen girl Celeste's death. You're gonna have to have somebody.
Let's get in there.
How can she be missing all this time, even possibly dead?
Yeah, I know somebody ain't gonna play with
Breaking
her.
news tonight. Closing in. Reports are surfacing that the musician D4VD, known as David Anthony Burke, is finally being viewed as a suspect. Girl Celeste murder. Her body found in his Tesla trunk. Amidst more reports, the killer had help dismembering the little girl.
Hold up. You mean to tell me the unaliver had help? See, I bet y'all didn't even paying attention. You missed that fact. You know what I'm saying? She said finding out that the unaliver had help. I changed the platform. Hey man, gotta get something going. But yeah, man, they saying that he had help. Drop a one in the comments if you knew that. I didn't know that. Hey man, brand new to me. After they kept on playing the back and forth, he guilty, he not guilty, kind of lost my interest. And then I was like, hold on. Now they might be saying that he ain't even a suspect. And then on top of that, they saying he had help. Okay, I see some ones. They already knew that. Okay, well, one didn't, like me. Lord, have mercy, Jesus.
The killer had help dismembering the little girl. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
Hey, wait.
Oh, look at answer that one. That's so mean if you don't answer.
Which one?
We don't even know really when Celeste was last seen alive. We don't know how long she was dead for.
We don't know how Celeste died.
Let's
we
go,
know
Cleveland.
that she was dismembered, but how did she die?
Obviously, a
Cleveland
homicide.
says, fun boy, help.
Reports emerging from sources within the LAPD that musician Dave, aka D4VD, David, is finally being viewed as a suspect in the murder of teen girl Celeste's death. As we all recall, her body found largely decomposed in his trunk. That vehicle moved and moved and moved from one spot to the next within a ritzy neighborhood. Why? Because we know the owners of those mega mansions would report the filthy car as being parked outside their home. So someone was moving and moving and moving D4VD's Tesla inside Celeste's decomposing.
Somebody was most definitely moving that car around. I think it was him, because it stopped moving once he went to it, but it was moving around from spot to spot to spot before he left. I'm still led to believe that David got something to do with this. This is my personal opinion. Make sure you double tap on that screen if you just got off in here, or click the three dots on the right hand side. Hit that thumbs up. It helps out the channel. Shout out to everybody that hit the like button. If you haven't hit the like button, double tap that screen.
Body. What has changed? What has happened? Why is D4VD Dave now reportedly being viewed as a suspect? Will this result in murder charges? How can this be without a toxicology report as of yet? But to Dave Mack, Crime Stories investigative reporter, what I consider to be really validating what the court viewers knew, that D4VD is being considered as a suspect, although it has not been officially announced, is the change in the timeline. Now we are learning that police sources believe Celeste was killed back in the spring. And bombshell tonight, police also looking at a road trip taken into a remote area by D4VD in the spring, where he stayed in that remote area for hours before returning back. I only assume this information is coming from his nav system, or is there a rat within Burke camp? Because tonight I definitely smell a rat. Let's start at the beginning. Dave Mack, what do you know?
Well, Nancy, we know that D4VD took a trip to Santa Barbara County, which is about 100 miles from the house that he was renting and taking about 2 hours to drive, okay? So he takes this drive in the middle of the night in the spring of this year, and he stays there for a couple of hours. They say remote area of Santa Barbara. If you've ever been to Santa Barbara, remote area can include probably 80% of the surrounding area. Big area, and you could actually be there and not be seen for a long time. He was there for hours. Now, they're also saying they believe, I'm talking about the police investigation is saying to this source, they believe Celeste died sometime in the spring of 2025. So we have Burke driving in the middle of the night in Santa Barbara County in the spring of 2025. And we have them saying Celeste died in the spring 2025. That's for starters. See, this is a bombshell.
That is major, Dave Mack. I know that the headlines all across the world are for David Anthony Burke as finally being viewed as it's not confirming that. To me, the real bomb tonight is that we believe she was killed back in the spring. What efforts were...
Hold on, let me see if I can fix this glitch real quick. I hate when they do that. Mess up the whole show. Hold on real quick. Yeah, hold up. Hold on, y'all. See if this helped it. Shout out to everybody in the building. Make sure you double tapping the screen.
Being taken by those within D4VD's camp to conceal her death, pretending she was still alive. That's what we're looking at tonight. This is a major change in the investigation, Dave Mack. Straight out to Professor Forensics, Jacksonville State University, author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon, and star of a hit new series, Body Bags, with Joseph Scott Morgan. Joseph Scott Morgan joining us, death investigator who has investigated literally thousands of deaths, not just homicides, suicide, natural causes, accident, unexplained, and of course, homicide. This is very confusing to us outside looking in, Joe Scott, but the reality is, I'm sure the medical examiner, when she saw the remains, could very likely state, oh no, this child has been dead since the spring. You know, we were working off a timeline, putting her alive as late as September. So what would be the difference, Joe Scott? I know this is a tough question. There's a lot of variables in Celeste's decomposing body. And guys, I'm sorry that we are talking so analytically and clinically about a little girl, Celeste, but this is what the trial will boil down to, if there ever is a trial, her decomposed remains. Joe Scott, if her body had been decomposing since September, as a
My bad, y'all. I had to refresh real quick. Hold up.
would be different when the medical examiner opened those bags.
I'll tell you precisely, and this is one of the reasons we still don't have a cause of death, is the fact that, put in as delicate terms as possible, the tissue remaining on her body would have the consistency, perhaps, of Jell-O. All right.
Wow.
It will have broken down to a point where some of her remains will have been liquefied to that point, if in fact this new timeline is in effect. And that's going to
he ain't
impact
in
a
jail.
variety
He's
of different
still free.
areas. Like, say, for instance, Nancy, we're looking for soft tissue trauma like contusions, or even to a certain degree, things like sharp-edged weapons, or even bullet defects. That's going to compromise your ability to visualize those things. So you have to be reliant, and I can
Slow down,
almost tell
please.
you.
Slow down, Scott.
Let's go, Nancy.
Can I put it in regular people talk?
Yeah, sure.
I don't see it so much as Jell-O. It's more like, did your children ever make slime?
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what slime is?
Yeah.
Gooey junk children made. It's a
Yeah.
little thicker than Jell-O.
Yeah.
But when you pick it up,
Yeah.
it's goo. Thicker
Yeah.
than Jell-O. I think what you're saying is that if her body had been in that trunk since the spring, she would be gelatinous, like
Yes.
goo. Therefore, if she had decomposed to that point, you listed several things. I'd like you to go back over it again, if you don't mind. If that is the state of her remains, how in the world can we find a knife mark, a bullet wound, a soft tissue marking such as a bruise or a subcutaneous hemorrhage?
Yep.
It's all gone.
Yeah, we retreat back to this idea of doing x-rays. And what you're going to be looking at potentially, Nancy, is insults to the underlying skeletal structure. Okay, so if you think about, like, if we talk about a knife wound, for instance, it's going to be, knife wounds, just like projectiles fired from a weapon, actually have a wound track. You follow kind of the hemorrhage line that goes. What you're hoping for in a case like this is to see if there's any kind of indwelling trauma on the surface of the bony structures. And that can easily be documented. Nancy, when they would have removed these bags, and everybody needs to really grab hold of this, they would have x-rayed the contents of these bags ever before they actually removed the remains from the bags. To this point,
Let me see
we
him.
don't really.
Let me see him. Hold on.
Yeah.
So, okay. Here's another thing. Everybody on the panel hear this. Joe Scott, stay with me.
Yeah.
According to a source within the LAPD, it was obvious when they saw the bags that she had been dismembered. Now, we have to admit that. So, dismembered she was, according to the source. So, Joe Scott, you're telling
she was
me
dismembered.
that when we get the body to the
Yep.
morgue, and remember, they likely take the body out of the Tesla, load it
Yep.
on to the morgue vehicle. So it's getting jostled, gets to
Yes.
the morgue. You're saying before her remains are removed from bag and or bags,
Yep.
they're x-rayed
Yes.
inside the bag. Why?
Yeah. In situ, because you don't want to lose anything, Nancy. That bag is essentially all you have that's holding everything together at that point. And I've had cases like this where the bags have actually ruptured. That's a total nightmare for you. And can I point out one more thing, Nancy? Because I was just talking about sharp force here, and I don't know that that's involved. I do know that if we're talking about dismemberment, that sharp force post-mortem, in the post-mortem state, that means after death, sharp force is involved in that. So this even further complicates, how do you delineate between what happened prior to death and what we call the antemortem state, and what happened after death in the postmortem state. This just kind of doubles the problem here for LA County Coroner. And they've got a great staff. They see.
I've got to make a note of that. I'm going to go back to Joanne Nieves on how I believe they're going to determine if it's postmortem, dismemberment, or an injury. She's still alive.
Yes.
I told you I smell a rat. Somebody's going to be singing, if not tonight, in the near future. Because we know, according to the leak, he, the killer, did not do this alone. He had to have help dismembering the body, according to the report. In a state of her remains, Joe Scott, if she is in fact dead since the spring, which coincides with that late night trip out to the remote area near Santa Barbara, you're going to have a witness. You're going to have somebody wrapped. Now, that would be the nature of her remains if she was killed back in the spring. Okay. Right. Now, how would it differ if she was killed in September, which is what we were led to believe? And I want to tell you one of the reasons we were led to believe that. Listen.
From the time it was moved to that last spot, which is on Bluebird. So on July 29th, when I saw it, that was like 11 in the morning. Later that evening, they begin the tour, and they actually leave that evening for San Francisco for the first show.
So there you go. To this joining us, private investigator for the Dordulian Law Group, former supervising detective from LAPD. They are spinning like a top over this leak.
I feel
tonight.
like he
That's
did
a whole
too.
nother can of worms. That's
like
their problem.
Too.
I'm concerned with the timeline. We were misled, not on purpose, but because of when the car, the Tesla, was first parked on that street. That was a different date. It was not back in the spring. It was much more recent. And many people naturally assumed that is when the death occurred. But wrong. We're wrong. And now we're learning that authorities believe this child was killed all the way back in the spring. That changed everything, Moses.
Yes, absolutely, Nancy. I think the police are going way back to the very first time she was reported missing, and turned out it's a timeline. Who saw her during that time period? And they're following every GPS data on that Tesla, and that's how they found that area about Santa Barbara County.
What do you think about the leak, Moses Castillo? This is your department. You worked years with the LAPD. Why is this leaking now?
Well, they want to stir the pot. They want to get the attention out there because maybe they reached the point in their investigation where they need help from the public. Like you said earlier, so there's a rat. Somebody out there has information that could help the detectives solve this case and bring justice to Celeste and her family.
Like a secret witness.
That, I think, is a strategy that is in play here.
Listen.
Shocking new information from Fisher. Celeste was in contact with a family member in early July, weeks before the Tesla was parked on the street. Guy Fisher is baffled that Burke has not made any public comment about Celeste's body being found in his car and hasn't offered condolences of any kind. Burke's tour continued after the car was towed and body found, and was only canceled when the remains were identified as Celeste. So far, the police have no suspect or person of interest.
Dave Mack joining us, Crime Stories investigator.
All this evidence and all of this found in the car, and police have no key suspect, you know what I'm saying, or nobody arrested. It just blow my mind. I feel like if it was me or you, we'd have been in jail the first day as soon as they found it in the car. But for some reason, he keeps skating by without no charges. It's crazy.
Porter, that report was based on information we believe came from members within D4VD's camp, that Celeste had been in touch with her family. Mm-hmm. That has not been verified with the family, which leads me to wonder, has there been a gigantic ruse to suggest Celeste was still alive when in fact she was dead, much like the Gabby Petito ruse affected by Brian Laundrie. And remember when he was coming across the country in Gabby Petito's van, texting her family as if he's Gabby Petito? And this contact that was allegedly made by Celeste to her family, we don't know if it was a message, a text, an email. It could have been anything or nothing. So are we looking at the possibility this child was killed in the spring and then a cover-up ensued, making people believe she was still alive? That's evil, Dave Mack.
Nancy, I think they went so far as to use, remember the concert in Silver Springs, Maryland on August 24th, where there was a Celeste Rivas lookalike that was in the backstage area up on the balcony looking down on the concert, dressed in the same clothing.
I remember her. People was like, that's her. That's not her. That's another one. Her name is this. I'm like, man, I don't know. But yeah, he says that he feel like this was deliberate. Like, them bringing this lady right here, whoever she is, was to throw people off about, what really, going on with Celeste. It's crazy, boy.
That has been described as was on the dismembered remains found in that Tesla. I think this is part of that story. See, they're trying to put it out there saying, see, she's there. She was at that concert.
Yeah, they trying to say she was at this concert when she was a fact unalive type stuff. And what they saying, do y'all think that this was a deliberate type thing that they did just for that reason, or a coincidence that this girl and Celeste look just alike? They basically saying, hey, man, we feel like he went and found a lookalike, and tried to play this whole thing off. What y'all think?
But in reality, we don't have confirmation.
Oh, trying to check.
You know what else, Dave Mack? All along,
the didn't look
there
like
were people
me
online
neither.
saying that's not Celeste. But she was wearing Celeste's tube top and Celeste ripped jeans. She had her hair done like Celeste from the get-go. And we're showing you the video there. And in the circle, there is either Celeste or Celeste lookalike. But it seems so far-fetched that it would not be Celeste. Look at this. We were warned. There were red flags.
Accident or on purpose, guy. You know what I'm saying? Could this have been a deliberate, plot to throw people off with this lookalike, man? Or do we just have taste for girls that kind of resemble Celeste? I'm just saying.
Ringing bells of alarm. People saying that's not Celeste. To Dr. Geraldine Utter joining us, clinical psychologist specializing in cases just like this.
I think so too.
She is the author of Maintaining Phillies, Survival, Hope, and Resisting Drug Addiction, and so much more. Doctor, thank you for being with us. That would be quite an elaborate cover-up, would it not?
Absolutely. It would be a very elaborate cover-up. But when you look at this situation with David, or D4VD, however you want to reference him, there's a lot of image protection. This is a young person that he was involved in, that was a child, that was a minor. He's an adult, and he's also trying to make way of this big music career. So it's elaborate in the sense that he's trying to protect himself and his image, and the people around him are also trying to do that. Another thing that I just want to mention, Nancy, is the Tesla, the abandoned Tesla, is a huge red flag. Think about it. If he had any relationship with Celeste at all, any innocent person or person that had any type of empathy or remorse would at least, at the very least, offer condolences to the family. There's a lot of emotional flatness. There's a lot of what we call emotional compartmentalization, where this is classic avoidant behavior because he's trying to protect himself and his image. He doesn't really care potentially about what's happened to this poor girl. When you look at it from a psychological perspective, you see secrecy, you see emotional flatness, you see emotional compartmentalization, with the main goal as to protect image.
Well, also to you, Dave Mack, joining us, Crime Stories investigative reporter. Speaking of a cover-up, did you see the photos we were showing? There was a lengthy track record of covering up, because in most of the photos in which Celeste was featured, she's covering her face. What other girl 13, 14, 15, do you know, that typically covers their face in photos?
Well, they're covering her face. That be the look-alike? Or is that Celeste? I'm pretty sure that's Celeste. That look just like her right there. I don't know why she was covering her face, but hey, you know, that looks to be her right there, unless she got a super convincing, you know, person up there at the top of the head. That look just like her head.
That are going to be posted time after time after time. A pocketbook, a hand, an iPhone, you name it.
You think so, Mouthpiece?
That was intentional. So the covering up has gone on for a long time. That right there is taken from a video which was then deleted.
From what we have found in looking into this investigation, there's no clear shot of Celeste Rivas with Burke at all. She's always got a hand up, always something blocking our view so we can't identify her. And I'm telling you, this is so heavy-handed when you actually break it down. You're going, why didn't we see this earlier? I mean, Burke's 20 years old. We've got a girl here that turned 15 after her body was found in that Tesla. So back it up, and you're looking at, there are some people who believe that the relationship between Burke and Celeste began when she was 12, Nancy, and they have been practiced at preventing her from being photographed clearly with Burke ever since.
Joanna Nieves joining
us. Well, you had a lot going on there.
Founder of the Nieves law firm.
Well, this guy was playing a lot. I'm talking about don't show your face. You know what I'm saying? Hiring a body double, stunt double. Yeah, he was doing a lot. Wow.
A lot happening tonight. The timeline change is a massive
for real. There's something wrong with him, my guy.
What was thought before, and it changes all crazy. Of the evidence. Joanna Nieves.
Cupcake, what is going on?
Isn't it true? When you've got a crime, bad enough to defend, it's hard enough. But when you have an elaborate cover up, trying to make it look as if Celeste was still alive, a lot of people probably knew about that.
You must have stepped away for a second.
That's not easy.
They said he had a body double for that, you know, them concert pictures, right? When they had the girl looking just like Celeste, wearing her clothes, basically, because of her, is what they saying. You know, so they're saying, they're putting out the theory of the girl who at the concert was like a body double. Yeah, they wanted people to think that she was there, and she wasn't there. Type situation, Cupcake. That's what they saying. Yeah, that's why I say he did a lot, boy. He was really thinking ahead. You know, he went and got a girl look just like her, and then try to stick her out there. You know, the same name. Remember that, Cupcake? They were saying they both had the same name. I'm just saying, one was like 23. Something like that, 28 or somewhere up in there. She was in her 20s, and Celeste is only 15. You know, I'm just saying, man. You know, I think the other girl name was Celeste too. Remember all that information that was coming out in the beginning that we was hearing? They were saying that he was dating two girls with the same name, and then they actually kind of look alike. Yeah, so that could have been the look girl at the concert, and the only reason why she was really there was, or he went and got her, however it may be, was to cover up what he did with Celeste.
To cover your tracks for that many. That is in fact true. That could be the killer's undoing the cover-up.
Absolutely, Nancy. I think the thing is, it would definitely be a major conspiracy for people to be participating and taking acts to cover up crime in that fashion if there is evidence to support that. Right now, what we have is a tight-lipped law enforcement agency that isn't releasing a whole lot of information, and the reports that are going around are the suspicions and the hunches and what could possibly have happened. But the prosecution can't convict on the hunch, and we're just we need to see a bit more evidence to support any of those type of allegations, whether it's a huge
you want more evidence for the dead body decomposing in his trunk?
Yes, because we still don't even know, like you were talking about post-mortem injuries. We don't know whether or not there were injuries to that body that would support that a crime, murder was actually committed. If all of these are post-mortem wounds, if anything like that is found, we can still argue mutilation, transport, concealment of the body, but are we really going to get to the crime of murder and whether or not D4 is actually the person who committed that? Or does the nature of the involvement in the crime, maybe it was limited to a potential cover-up and involvement, maybe knowledge, but who committed the act if he's actually named as suspect and investigated for that crime.
The LAPD has been working on a timeline of activity for Celeste and Burke, and an insider with the police investigation says they've been able to determine that in the spring of this year, Burke took a secret trip in the middle of the night to a remote area of Santa Barbara County. Burke remained in the area for several hours.
I don't know what else they need either, Cupcake. It's crazy.
Bombshell tonight. Crime Stories now streaming first on Fox 1.
I can't believe they ain't doing nothing. Anybody else have been in jail a long time ago. They keep giving him chance after chance. He just get chance after chance.
Remains are found in a vehicle registered 2 years. Yet you continue on this world tour like nothing was found in your car.
Somebody put a then 13-year-old little girl in a trunk and leave the car there for weeks on end.
As Burke becomes a suspect in the possible homicide of a child, police say it is likely Burke had help in dismembering and disposing of Celeste's body. Burke still has not made a public announcement about Celeste being found in his car. After initially saying Burke was cooperating with the investigation, the singer has not been cooperative during the last 2 months.
Bombshell tonight.
This is wild,
the
man.
LAPD, says KNBC, D4VD, a.k.a. David Anthony Burke, is being investigated as a suspect in the death of teen girl Celeste Rivas. We are also learning, contrary to prior reports, that he has not been cooperative throughout the investigation.
Exactly, Mouthpiece. We on the same brain pattern. Soon as the car would have been linked, them boys gonna come for you. Why they stalling so long? I don't know, bro. Soon as your car, it's done been moved around. Oh, it wasn't moving no more when he went to tour. Man, they would have came and picked us up so fast it'd have made our head spin. But for some reason, this dude just avoiding jail. Like, I'm like, what is going on? They would have kicked out. Yeah, real talk, would have got us right up out of there, bro. The fastest. They lucky he don't leave the country or something worse. Man, they giving him all these chances. He liable to move off. I'm just gonna can lie on the stand. Their decision can be contested if they say you unalived unself-alive by a baseball bat, then that's what goes on. Man, listen, but ain't no way you can't unalive, man. Come on, man. If it was one of us, automatic jail. But he acts like it's just another day, and they do too. They're allowing them to act like that. Ain't no way he's supposed to be here walking the streets with all of this. I'm just saying, either he was super slick, or there's something going on.
And I'm just curious, does it have anything to do with this?
Not at all. My dad is a litigator for a law firm. My dad was a teacher. She does notary now.
That is
Could that be why?
Throughout the investigation. And I'm just curious.
Hold on, let me see.
We are in the death of teen girl. Reports that he has not been cooperative throughout the investigation. And I'm just curious, does it have anything to do with this?
Yeah. Not at all. My dad is a litigator for a law firm. Not at all. My dad is a litigator for a law firm.
Your daddy is what?
Yes.
Not at all. My dad is a litigator for a law firm.
One more time for the people in the back.
Not at all. My dad is a litigator for a law firm.
My dad is a litigator for a law firm. Oh, wow, man. You learn something new every day, Cupcake. It's a new twist. His dad works at a law firm. Let's talk about it.
My mother was a teacher. She doesn't do it anymore, but she does notary now.
That is from, and the writer is on YouTube. So, I mean, think about it. To Moses Castillo joining former LAPD, you got a trial lawyer for a dad, according to Burke himself, and a notary as a mom. They tell him to shut his pie hole. He hasn't said a word. Now,
the higher ups, mom is a notarizer. Dad works at a law firm. Them are David's parents. You know what I'm saying? David's parents. That might be why he ain't in jail then. I'm just saying, that's, hey, man, Y'all let me know, man. Could that be? Is that the reason?
What can be used at trial are
Hey, it's
all
me.
actions, behavior, patterns before, during, and after a crime. Under law, of course, a defendant has a right to remain
Baby,
silent.
what's the deal?
But if she really went missing all the way back in the spring and he never said a word, that's damning. Do you agree?
Absolutely, I agree. Not only him not saying anything, but his actions of transferring. There's some reports of he's transferring his properties to his mom under his mom's name. What does that tell you? That he's afraid of potential civil litigation of a wrongful death lawsuit. So all that points to a consciousness of guilt in my mind. And Nancy, every day there's justice delayed, is justice denied, and we need to fight for transparency, and we need this done so that we could get responsible accountable.
Well, I appreciate that sermon. I do. But what I'd like to point out, Moses Castillo, is that every day that goes by, we lose evidence. We lose witnesses. Evidence is cleaned away from the home. I heard that it's been professionally cleaned now. All that evidence is gone. To Joe Scott Morgan joining us, death investigator. Joe Scott, the dismemberment of a body is no easy thing. And I wonder where the body was dismembered. We know LAPD combed D4VD's mansion.
Shout out to Lalisi for being a member for the last 28 months. Shout out to you, Lalisi.
Where you actually see on camera, on surveillance video.
Yeah, but his dad is well versed in law, guys. Considering that his daddy is a litigator, you know what I'm saying? Basically a lawyer for a law firm, guys. You know, and we're sitting here wondering, well, what do we going to jail? Why he ain't locked up? Why could that be the reason? That really got me. You know, David's dad, you know, is an attorney, basically a lawyer. Wow, you learn something new every day.
Someone taking a body out of the home.
Shout out to Lalisi.
We've watched, including the body of a teen girl. This is video of a little girl, Miranda Corset, out of Florida. You see her walking into the murder defendant's home and being carried out in a blanket. Does surveillance video around the home, the mansion of David Anthony Burke, show the last time Celeste Reeves left his home? Like Miranda, did she walk in and get carried out?
Yeah,
and if so,
Cupcake.
This is not just about Burke's
Cupcake video.
Like Miranda, the last time
video Cupcake
around the home, the mansion of David Anthony. Last time Celeste Reeves left his home. Like Miranda, did she walk in and get carried home? Like Miranda, did she walk in and
somebody carried
left
something?
His mansion? Does surveillance video around the home, the mansion of David Anthony Burke, show the last time Celeste Reeves left his home? Like Miranda, did she walk in and get carried out? And if so, when? And this is not just about Burke's video. What about neighbors' surveillance video?
What about
Don't
the
forget,
neighbors?
His Tesla has 360-degree cameras. Who loaded her in the trunk? Or has the info stick been removed from the car and
Who is
destroyed?
Miranda? I don't know.
Was the body dismembered in the mansion, or was it taken out to, for instance,
Who is
a
Miranda?
remote
I don't know.
area outside Santa Barbara and dismembered? To Joe Scott Morgan, don't you think there would be evidence inside the mansion if the body was dismembered there?
Yeah, and we still don't know, what they have found. And so here's what you're looking at with dismemberment, Nancy. One of the things that's always left behind is going to be obviously blood deposition. Now that can either be with velocity. Say I've worked cases involving like power tools, and it distributes much like a firearm would. Okay. Also, you're going to have elements like bone dust that people don't think about, just like sawdust.
That's a good question too as well. Why no cadaver?
One thing that you do need, though, is you need privacy You need generally an electrical source unless you're using hand tools. And you do not need to be bothered in any way while you're doing this. The individuals that would have been involved in this process would also be covered in tissue themselves. So it's a big, big mess. It's even bigger, say, for instance, in cases we've covered where it's a bludgeoning or just a straight up stabbing.
Moneybags, did you know that his mom is a notarizer, and his dad is a attorney? Did you know that? A lawyer. Maybe that's the reason why he ain't in the jail yet. His daddy fighting tooth and nails, him and his law firm.
Now you're going even further. I think one of the
we showed it a while ago.
That she could have been taken either in the postmortem state or the antenatal
Nancy
state.
said it. Nancy said that his mom is a notarizer, and his dad is a let me go back to the word again from Cupcake. Hold up, let me go up because she typed it. But basically a lawyer, for a law firm. A litigator. There you go. He's a litigator for a law firm. You know what I'm saying? His dad. So I'm like, wow. That could be. Yeah, we just showed it while money. Yeah, yes, his family heavy illness. Yeah, for real. You know what I'm saying? Any crime portrayed on television can legally be considered fake entertainment for the masses. Sometimes the script writers aren't that good at their job. Okay, Charlie, whatever you say, I doubt. If this is some kind of script, though. I don't think this is a movie. I think this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think it's a movie, man. You know what I'm saying? Somebody is fighting tooth and nail. Because like I said in the beginning, and I stand on this, if this was me or you, we're in jail right now. Believe that. In your car, you know what I'm saying? You better have some real good excuses. I'm talking about some of the best in the game to how dismembered body allegedly could be found in your vehicle. Yeah, we need to know how I got in the trunk. We don't care what you say. We need to know. You and me, we'd have been locked up already. I'm just saying. So are they really in Norway? Your guess good as mine. We would be in jail. Absolutely, we would be under the jail. They would lock you up the first day. You know what I'm saying? As soon as they found it in your car, yeah, it's time to go down to the precinct and ask all kind of questions. This is for entertainment. I don't think so, Doc. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't think this is for entertainment. I think that is some man. Listen, David had money. He was on a world tour. His daddy got money. He come from money. They got some money over there. They fighting tooth and nail right now. I'm telling you.
This also, if they had panicked, for instance, after they started this process, if she was stowed in another location and then brought back in the Tesla happened to be
no cooperation.
Okay, we're going to put her in the Tesla after we've had her in this location. Body begins to become foul. They can't keep her in the house any longer or at some other isolated location where she can be found. So there's a lot of movement that's going on here, and it's going to be very, very difficult to track this. The big thing is looking, trace evidence back in that primary residence, and then if they can locate that location out in Santa Barbara County somewhere, is there anything that of value there that may have been left behind?
I've been thinking about the condition of her body. Those mansion photos were from our friend Harvey Levin over at TMZ. Mm-hmm. I would imagine, since soft tissue is the first thing to go, that there's no way we're going to be able to determine from the petechia in her eyes whether she was asphyxiated. No way. That's gone. Wouldn't you agree?
Man.
Yeah, to a certain degree. I have seen petechiae in advanced decomposition.
That's where you are.
Nancy, I got to make a confession here. There's something that's just like eating me right now that I'm thinking about what I'm really concerned about in this case. From a forensic standpoint, and that's going to be her tox. How are you going to land on an answer relative to tox?
Allegedly,
and if you can give me a little latitude here, one of the things that we do in cases of advanced decomposition, how we were talking about how the body begins to break down. We talked about this kind of gelatinous state that the body might be in. One of the things that's rather robust that you can go to is actually the liver, and to a certain degree, the brain as well. What we do is that what remains of the liver and the brain, we will take take samples of that and literally spin it down to the point where it liquefies, we can actually draw that up, Nancy, and get what's referred to as qualitative finding, like were there any drugs in her system? I'm talking meth, coke, the standard panel that we run in the medical legal world. Now, here's the problem. You're not going to be able to get a quantitative amount, which is what we're looking for if we're thinking about OD, for instance. You can merely get a qualitative amount, and that says that these drugs were present. And the question now is, how in the hell is a young girl like this getting access to these substances that is under the direct care of an individual that is an adult in her life? Remember, she's not been with her family, so how is she getting access to these drugs?
Okay, let me boil down what you just said. Harsh reality is, even when a body is, for instance, mummified from being out in the desert or in some other difficult terrain, and the body literally dries up, the internal organs, such as the liver, can be put in a blender with some form of liquid, such as
have mercy.
Yeah, centrifuge.
And liquefied.
Yeah.
You basically making a smoothie out of the internal organs, and from those organs,
Nancy,
can be conducted. Toxicology labs can be conducted on that. So even if her remains are, as you said, jello, if she's been dead since the spring, even so, that test can still be run. But you're saying you can't get a quantitative amount, which is the possibility of an overdose. You can't tell how much of it is in her system. Right. You can just determine it is in her system. But I got a problem with what you're saying. Okay. Here's the problem. To Dr. Geraldine Utter, we keep hearing discussions of maybe she OD'd. Why are we hearing that? If this was an accidental OD and anyone hoped to save her inside D4VD's mansion, they would have called 911. We don't want to think she was intentionally murdered. So we all come up with, it was likely an overdose, and they panicked and got rid of her body. Excuse me, panicked and dismembered her body and left it in a trunk? That's not what people do when you want to save someone's life, when someone has an accident. So reminiscent of little Keely Anthony. When Top Mom Casey Anthony
she got out.
Keely died in the pool, and then her dad decided, let's just put her in a trash bag and throw her in a swamp. That's a great idea. Instead of trying to revive her or have a funeral, that's total BS. So why do we want to believe this was an OD?
Because it feels better that way psychologically, Nancy. I mean, this is D4, VD or David, whatever you want to reference him as. He was somebody that was coming up in the ranks. He was beloved. He had a following. It feels better to have to think, this was an accident. I don't want to have to wrap my head around the fact the person that I love and I admire and whose art or music I like did something like that. The other thing when it comes to overdose, to your point, if she had an accidental overdose, you would think that people would rush right away to call the police. Sadly, we don't see it as often as we'd like to see it because people panic. And usually what they'll do is they might drive to an emergency room and just kind of drop someone off, or they might move her while she's still alive and overdose and put her on the sidewalk and call. To your point, the fact that we moved to dismemberment really just, it kind of makes you think, hey, maybe there was more foul play, not just simply an overdose. Your earlier question, we believe that people are capable of doing evil, terrible things. And again, someone who was an artist that was coming up through the ranks. Another thing we want to think of is she is a child. She is a minor. So there's so many layers to self-protection, self-preservation, and protecting his image potentially that are involved in a case like this. But to your point, if it was an overdose, there were 10 million other things that could have been done to protect, quote unquote, him and his camp while also trying to get this young child help.
Shocking information uncovered by the LAPD has the investigation spotlight finally pointing on Burke. Investigators have developed new information that leads them to believe Celeste likely died in the spring of this year. And the death is being tentatively treated as a possible homicide, but officials are waiting on an official cause of death from the medical examiner.
Did y'all hear that? I'm just saying.
Holidays are just around the corner, and that means a lot of excitement and credit.
Let's fast forward.
Mortgage rate. It can. You will have 8 get answer the night. One of Burke is one witness. One witness to crack. One of Burke's insiders to tell the truth about the night Celeste died. We will get answers as to what happened to Celeste Rivas. Bombshell tonight, according to sources within the LAPD, D4VD, aka David Anthony Burke, known as David as a musician, is finally being considered as a suspect in the death of a little girl, teen girl Celeste, found decomposing in his vehicle. The bombshell, not that he's being considered a suspect, reportedly. Many people already considered him a suspect, or at least a POI, person of interest.
Most definitely a suspect. Nancy, we've been looking at him like that.
But the timeline, this is a seismic shift. Now we are learning, at least believe, this little girl died back in the spring, not in the fall, not in September when her body was found, but many months before that. I'm going to circle back to Joe Scott Morgan with the possibility she was dismembered in the desert outside, in the terrain outside Santa Barbara, and what that would mean forensically if dirt or soil could be found in that Tesla trunk from that area. What would that prove? But here's one of the reasons the timeline was off.
It's a little weird to see a car that I haven't seen here for a long time. Had a big dent on it, had a Texas plate on it. So all a little odd.
One neighbor says the distinct-looking Tesla was parked on the street for some time in front of the house that was searched, and later in 2 other spots on the street. The vehicle stood out because it has a Texas plate and a...
Moving it around. Yeah, who moving it around? David, before he went on tour? Why they ain't picked him up yet? Because allegedly his mom and daddy.
Big
From our friends at WABC, straight back to Dave Mack, Crime Stories investigative reporter. This is a seismic shift, the timeline, and it opens up the possibility there was not just a murder, a cover-up, but a very long cover-up that lasted for months and was quite elaborate, suggesting that Celeste was still alive, thereby hiding the fact that she was dead and dismembered. So, Dave Mack, regarding the cover-up, regarding the remote area, you've studied the map. What area are they referring to? What is the most obvious remote area outside Santa Barbara?
The one I'm looking at, Nancy, is Valley, which is a terrain that is, it's difficult to drive a car in. You're going to do a lot of hiking to get around there. It's underdeveloped, and it is an area that really and truly could be a place where you could be left alone for a long time. Nancy, you mentioned the cover-up, okay? Think about this. When you're looking at that long game that includes the state Celeste lookalike at the concert in August, think about his new album,
to the
Withered,
wordplay.
was coming out April the 25th. They're not saying Celeste was dead in early spring. As we look at this whole thing where they're always blocking her face so you can't see how she looked, can't identify her, I hate to say this. Did they plan her death so that they could get her out of the way as the new album came out and he goes on his first world tour, and they replace her with a look and stage the whole thing?
To Justice Scott Morgan, try to erase Dave Mack's wacky conspiracy theory. Although, frankly, you know what? So much has changed in this case. Maybe it's not that wacky after all. Joe Scott Morgan, let's talk about that rugged area. If she was dismembered there with help, and I'm curious why LA law enforcement is saying that the killer had help dismembering her. That's another can of worms. But what would you expect to find on her body, on those bags, and possibly in the Tesla trunk?
Yeah, you had mentioned earlier, you begin to think of there's an area within forensics where we have forensic geology, where we begin to take a look at soil samples, and that's contained within the trace evidence area at the state crime lab. So you actually can compare soil that is, say, for instance, if you're talking, this house is where he was renting, essentially adjacent.
Could she have been moved? That's the big question as well, man. Could she have been moved, guys? If she was in the freezer and then took her to where he was at. You know what I'm saying? Could she have been moved? It happened somewhere else, and then the car was just parked at David's house.
To Chateau Marmont, the famous place where Belushi died and all of those things went down all those years ago. Well, that geology in that area, the type of soil there is completely different than, say, this area where he is alleged to have gone. I got one more for you, Nancy. Remember, what are they saying? They're saying that there's a chance she may have gone missing in the spring. Guess what happens in the spring? You've got new bloom going on. So the flora, that is all of the plant life that is out in that area, there's a high potential that those species are completely different than you're going to find back in more coastal areas around LA. So in these bags, not only are they going to be looking for soil sample, they're also going to be looking for any kind of pollen that's on the body. That's another area with forensics that we look at relative to this. So there's a lot of evidence if they have taken their time with each one of these bags, with her body, any clothing that may have been on there, there's a chance that you can harvest information there that might tell you about her path, at least from a geographic standpoint.
I want you to see a live stream video of D4VD David Anthony Burke and Celeste, which has recently resurfaced. Watch.
Hey, wait.
Oh, look, answer that one. That's so mean if you don't answer
Which
that.
one? What's good, David? Big fan, big spam. Oh, thank you, Mitochondria.
I gotta stop with him if you even. We need to delete this.
Maz, can we delete all VODs and then I delete the stream too?
You know what that tells me? That again is a live stream video of David Anthony Burke and Celeste, which resurfaced. That D4VD, David Anthony Burke, is very aware of any incriminating evidence. He knows to delete it, get rid of it, don't let it stay on the air. We know that there was a long history of covering Celeste's face whenever they were photographed together. What else?
She was about 14, 13 when he was with her, and they found her when she turned 15.
I want to address something Joanna Nieves, veteran trial lawyer, said. She said, well, if the body is so decomposed, we may never know COD, cause of death, and
still no better,
we won't
though.
know
She
whether
might
this
as
was
well
a
have been
murder.
12.
I want you to imagine something, Joanne. Go to the back recesses of your mind and imagine a sinking ship about to go under in a turbulent storm. Imagine rats, rodents running across the deck of the ship, not knowing what to do. A sinking ship with rats running across the deck. You don't think one of those rodents will grab onto anything to save its own skin? Yes, somebody within D4VD's camp knows exactly what
up, sweet
happened.
bae? What's up,
and
big
we
red
have
diva?
learned from private investigator Steve Fisher, who can no longer comment, I imagine, because he's going to be a witness, that he saw who was driving the Tesla, parking it here, parking it there. Was it D4VD? I guarantee you he had a friend, and that friend knows
she brought up the
everything.
friend.
There were multiple
Think
people
about the
living
friend
in
that know
mansion.
everything.
Someone is going to try their best to save their own skin,
Automatically.
like those rats on the ship deck.
Or the
And
landlord.
they are going to rat out on David Anthony Burke.
Pressure bust pipes, and I agree with that. When your life and your livelihood is on the line, it is not difficult to apply pressure and get somebody to
Gotta get out
break.
there.
Now, will that confession or that big reveal actually point to D4VD? That still remains unknown. Maybe he is aware. Obviously, there is something going on but What we don't know is who the actual culprit was of what happened to Celeste.
Investigators have made contact with several people involved in the case, some more involved than others, but all in some capacity that leads detectives to believe they are certain they're going down the right path for a suspect. Even with the new information about the investigation, no one has been arrested, and the investigation is ongoing.
We here at Crime Stories would be.
But what we do know is there has been no arrest made thus far. That's what we do know, right? Even though David sticks out in our mind as should be the prime suspect, there's no arrest being made as of yet, right? But I hear there are secret, like I ain't gonna even say secret. There are jury meetings that's being held, guys. And somewhere off in there, people are saying it's a secret witness, guys. Yeah, somebody is, according to TMZ, and Seti Nash and Law and Crime, basically there is a secret witness. Somebody's talking. I don't know who it is. Check this out. We can go to Seti first. Shout out Seti Nash.
Read exactly what they wrote, because there's certain things y'all know I'm finna poke holes in and point out.
Who is about to get arrested in the case involving the death of Celeste Rivas, and it is not David.
That's TMZ.
We know a lot. Let me download you on what we found. So this week, there has been
this is breaking right here
for the grand jury, and he is intimately involved in David's life. The singer David, who the LAPD and the LA County DA says in a suspect in what they believe is the murder of Celeste Rivas. His name is Robert Morgenroth. Robert Morgenroth is the head of Mogul Vision, which is the label for David. But more than just the executive, the general manager, he is a manager. He manages David, and he is involved in David's day-to-day life and clearly knows a lot. So on Monday, Morgenroth was in the hallway, his lawyer, and there were people around, and they weren't sitting or standing right next to them, but the hallway echoes. It was clear to people around there that there was a conversation that Morgenroth was having with his lawyer, and he's recounting what happened inside the grand jury room with the prosecutor in the case. The prosecutor, Beth Silverman, according to Morgenroth, what he said, she was very didn't call police. And then he went on to say that he said in response to that he said, quote, "I feel like I didn't have the responsibility to do that and just wanted to continue with tour." Now, we do not know the context of this, but when the DA is grilling him about not calling the police, that has to involve crime. You're not going to call the police because somebody didn't show up for work. You're going to call the police if there's some kind of crime involved, especially since this is a case involving what the DA says is a crime. So we don't know what Morgenroth knew that would require him, according to the DA, to pick up a telephone and call the police. But there's something. And again, he was involved in David's day-to-day life. So, okay, there is more. There is another manager in this same company.
Exclusive date. Celeste Rivas, grand jury, uncooperative witness to be arrested. There's trouble in the grand jury room. Witnesses testify about the circumstances surrounding Celeste Rivas' death because at least one witness is so uncooperative, she's about to be arrested. TMZ has learned. Here's the way it went down. Beth Silverman, the deputy DA presenting the case in Los Angeles, came out into the hallway Wednesday afternoon and approached attorney Evan Janess. She represents Robert Morgenroth, who manages singer David. Silverman told Janess she was going to have the judge issue a body attachment to force a female witness to testify before the grand jury. It appears the female witness was a no-show and visibly frustrated. Silverman said she would have authorities take the female witness into custody and bring her to the courtroom. We do not know who the female witness is, but it's interesting. She's represented by the same lawyer as Morgan Roth, who spent around 3 days testifying before the grand jury. TMZ broke the story. Morgan Roth was in a hallway on Monday telling his lawyer things got tense in the grand jury room when Deputy DA Silverman pressed him on why he didn't call the police. He didn't say what he knew, that he would make Silverman challenge him on not making that call. But he said he responded to her by saying he didn't think it was his duty and he was trying to keep David's tour
He didn't think it was his duty.
The female witness has some connection to Morgan Roth, but it all points to David, whom the DA and LAPD are treating as suspect, and what they say is a murder case of Celeste. But I got something for y'all. So they know who it is. TMZ know 100% who it is. It's the lady who runs the label with Buddy Morgan Roth dude. So that's
it's the lady who runs. Okay,
that's exactly who they're talking about, because they're running that in conjunction. Why she's not gonna show up? One, because she really doesn't have to. Two, when it's a secret, it's not in public, you have to. So there's that part. Why am I trying to attach myself to this shit once y'all already caught Buddy in the hallway, got his picture blasted all over the internet? You know the irreparable harm that's gonna do to me? I could imagine the Morgan dude, Morgan Roth dude, because I was watching, what the hell is that shit called? Winter Soldier and fucking Falcon and Winter Soldier. The girl name was Morgan Roth. Anyway, no, Morgan Thal, and his is Morgan Roth. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, bro, I'm not trying to bring myself down in no damn court for what? So y'all can paint me how y'all want to paint me, and now y'all got LA Times tipping off TMZ, giving TMZ exclusive shit that they didn't even find out. It was an LA Times article. So yeah, bro, I'm not trying to show up there unless you force me to be there. And it's one of the crazier parts, because we find out that, remember when we was talking about Buddy? You know so much, you going on these podcasts.
So he's saying it's
talking
the
all
woman
these
at the
people.
record label.
Well, the dude who done broke so much David news from being the private investigator, he got himself dragged up to court. And let's say he ain't like it. Roll it.
Done in the dark will come to the light. Tomorrow morning, I have been ordered to appear in the Los Angeles County Criminal Court for an order to show cause hearing for contempt. I was not served with a summons to appear in court. I was not given a
no, City. Hold on. Yeah, man. So it's a secret witness, guys. He says it's a female, according to City. Law and Crime, they most definitely went into it. You know what I'm saying? Official words, on what's going on in the David and Celeste case thus far. It looked like somebody about to be arrested, man. Somebody finna go to jail. And City says this is an uncooperative witness. Check it out.
Find out who maybe testified in the reported grand jury hearing evidence in the Celeste Rivas Hernandez David case. And if this turns out to be true, this is someone very connected to the romantic homicide singer. Let's discuss. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Long. Now, how we're able to share something called having this pro
start promoting,
right? To hear evidence told you that it was being reported that a grand jury had been paneled, right? To hear evidence in connection with the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose dead body was found in the trunk of a Tesla.
Hit 10 more likes, guys. Double tap the screen. That's how you hit the like button on your mobile device, or click the 3 dots on the right-hand side, hit the thumbs up. This is the latest and breaking, information to come out in the Celeste David, Celeste and David situation, guys. That's the young lady that was found in the Tesla, guys, which we heard was dismembered. They came back and said that it wasn't. There's so many inconsistencies in this case. It's crazy. But it looked like somebody about to go to jail. Uncooperative witness. I don't know who it is. But reports are, they everywhere. Check it out.
Well, that was registered to the romantic homicide singer back in September out in LA. Now, there have been no arrests in connection with this case. There have been no charges. It was reported that David is being considered a suspect by the LAPD. But look, we can't even 100% confirm that a grand jury is in fact hearing evidence, because grand juries are secret. They're supposed to be secret. It's not confirmed by authorities. However, Law enforcement sources apparently helped to confirm this, according to the LA Times. And according to the LA Times, they cite how in a court filing in this case, there is a reference to a GJ number, a grand jury number. I'll talk about that a little bit more, because it was reported that there is an investigative grand jury that has been hearing evidence in this case for some time. Now, an investigative grand jury, if that's actually what this is different than what you might think. If this is true, an investigative grand jury doesn't issue indictments, formal charges. They can recommend charges, they can help with issuing subpoenas for witnesses, they can produce other evidence, and then usually all of that can be taken to another grand jury for an indictment. All of that to say, if this is true, we have a big development. TMZ is reporting that the president of David's touring company was questioned by a deputy district attorney in front of the grand jury on Monday. We are referring to Robert Morgenroth, who apparently heads up Mogul, David's record label, and also Zara Brothers Travel, the touring company. Now, TMZ is reporting that Morgenroth comes out of the courtroom, is in the hallway, and was allegedly overheard telling his lawyer that the deputy DA who was questioning him, quote, he was very pushy on why I didn't call police. And quote, I said I feel like I didn't have the responsibility to do that and just wanted to continue with the tour. Let me break that.
Wow. He didn't call the police. He said he didn't feel obligated to do so. Oh, wow.
Down. We don't know if this is true, obviously, right? But if it's true, and if he was in fact questioned about this, and about Celeste's case, if that's the grand jury he's a part of, or the what he's testifying to, that would signal that he potentially knew a crime was committed and didn't do enough. That the reference to the tour could be about David's tour, because after all, David was on tour when Celeste's body was found. The tour was ultimately canceled when this was making a lot of news, and David has been basically been MIA since. And what exactly did Morgenroth know about what was going on? Does that mean David knew something? Does that mean David was connected to this? Obviously, there's a lot of questions, but to have someone directly connected to the singer being reportedly questioned in a grand jury proceeding, that's a big development that we have to talk about. And I should note that it was reported that the deputy DA presenting evidence to the grand jury, okay, so if this is true, it has been reported that that may be Beth Silverman. She is a career prosecutor who apparently handles some very big, high-profile murder cases in the county.
Yeah, I say the same thing, V.
Excellence in cold case investigations with technical support. She was the one who prosecuted Samuel Little, the most notorious serial killer in American history. Got 3 convictions against him. She is a big deal. Now, as we're trying to sort out that grand jury information, I have to also mention something else, another development. This is with respect to Steve Fisher. We've had him on the show before. He is the private investigator who was hired by the owner of the property that David was reportedly staying at, which was near where the Tesla with Celeste's body that was found inside. That property had been subject to a search warrant by police, by the way. So look, Steve has been quite vocal about his investigation. Obviously, he doesn't share all the details about what he has found, but he posted on X, and we got to talk about it. Quote, "Done in the dark will come to the light. Tomorrow morning, I have been ordered to appear in the Los Angeles County Criminal Court for an order to show cause hearing for contempt. I was not served with a summons to appear in court. I was not given a complaint outlining the alleged contempt to respond to. There is no case number, and I do not appear anywhere on the court's public docket. I was handed a handwritten note from a deputy district attorney on Friday and told to appear Tuesday morning." He also appears to have posted that note. "A punishment hearing in criminal court that is not even assigned a case number, seemingly because they do not want this to be public information. Love me or hate me, this should concern you. The fact that this is happening in our criminal court system is terrifying. That is why I'm going public before the attending, so that the public and the press are aware of what is happening. Here is the backstory. Recently, I testified on 2 separate days as a witness before a grand jury. When I was served with the subpoena for the first day of testimony, 2 detectives came to my door at 6 a.m. and instructed me to immediately call the deputy district attorney. She told me that because I was now a grand jury witness, I was no longer allowed to speak about this case and that it would be illegal if I did. This put me in an impossible position. I have a client directly related to this case. If I cannot speak to my client, I am violating my professional duty. This was the entire point of calling me as a grand jury witness. It was a strategy used to try to silence me. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner has publicly spoken about a similar silencing strategy being attempted against their office. Then I did my research on the law, spoke to lawyers, and found out I was being lied to. Here is the critical fact. In California, witnesses to a grand jury do not have a general obligation of secrecy. That obligation applies to the jurors and officers of the court. A witness is only bound to secrecy regarding anything they learned solely from the grand jury proceeding they already knew before testifying or anything learned outside the grand jury. I want to pause here because many people are going to search this online. Google AI is likely going to give the wrong answer by claiming that witnesses must remain completely silent. If you click through to the actual sources it cites, you will see that the AI summary is incorrect. California law is silent on imposing total secrecy on witnesses. Instead, witnesses are routinely admonished that they may not disclose certain things, but those certain things only include what was learned from the grand jury proceeding itself, not independent knowledge or publicly known facts. In 1983, the California Attorney General issued a written opinion on this exact issue for legal clarification. It is very clear. I have attached screenshots of that opinion. I also want to be very clear about this. I never disclosed my testimony, even though the law would have allowed me to discuss my own testimony. I never publicly disclosed that I was a witness before the grand jury, not once and not twice. Instead, the deputy district attorney abused the power of the grand jury process in an apparent attempt to silence me. I was told that I broke the law, and I was given a handwritten note telling me to appear in criminal court for a contempt hearing.
So this is basically him, guys. Not David, but the other dude. You know what I'm saying? The one they said that was being uncooperative. This is what he had to say, the uncooperative witness.
There is no summons. There is no case number. The matter does not appear on the public docket. No documentation outlining what I'm accused of so that I can respond. I was also told that if I left town, I had to be back by Tuesday morning. I wrote a detailed letter to both the judge and the deputy district attorney explaining my position. They have had that letter since Friday afternoon. I received no response. With a hearing just hours away and the threat of a contempt charge hanging over my head in what appears to be a secret off-the-books court proceeding, I had no choice but to go public so that the people and the press are aware of what is happening. This is the only way I can protect myself from what I believe to be an abuse of power. It is frightening that this is happening at the highest levels of the court system. There is power in transparency. I was left no choice. So you can read between the lines and make a very strong argument that he's talking about the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case. We don't know for sure. Look, there is a lot we do not know about what is going on, partly because, and this is something that seemed to have been referenced by Steve Fisher, the medical examiner. The medical examiner, we reported this before, received a court order sought by the LAPD to place a security hold on any information being released from the ME's office. So no records or cause or manner of death information can be released to the public about Celeste. And as I mentioned before, the LA Times apparently reviewed this court petition seeking the security hold that makes reference to a grand jury number, or seemingly a grand jury number, hence why they're reporting it's possible a grand jury has been convened here. And I will also say, the Robbery Homicide Division of the LAPD released a statement at the end of last month that said the following, quote, "The Los Angeles Police Department is aware of the recent stories posted by various media outlets about the David Celeste Rivas investigation and would like to dispel some information contained in their reporting. The body of Celeste..."
You ain't hit that like button, man. Take time to hit that like button. All you got to do is double tap the screen on your mobile device. If you're on a mobile device, or those 3 dots in the right-hand corner, hit that thumbs up, and most definitely subscribe to the channel if you are new. Get the likes up, guys.
Celeste Rivas not frozen when it was discovered on September 8th, 2025. So that is directly contradicting what was reported by TMZ. They have actually been doubling down on the reporting and their sources. She had not been decapitated. We have evidence that David traveled to the Santa Barbara area sometime during the spring of 2025. The reason for that trip is still under investigation, and we've drawn no conclusions at this point about the relevance.
What done took a trip and everything else.
As far as the court order, the LAPD to seal the records of the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's investigation into Celeste Rivas' death. That order was sought only to ensure detectives from Robbery Homicide Division learned of important information surrounding her death before the media and the public. The order was not sought to undermine transparency. No other information will be provided at this time. I want to make sense of this new development, the grand jury, right? This idea of who may have testified. Let me bring in once again Alan L. Schmidt, retired FBI agent, president, CEO of Kronos Litigation Experts. Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Let's start here. How much credence do you give to the idea that we really know there is a grand jury being impaneled and that we really know who is testifying in front of the grand jury right now? Because it's definitely possible
I wasn't quite there
that
yet,
this guy, Morgan Roth, was overheard and that he might be testifying in this case.
Well, it appears you have multiple data points confirming that there's a grand jury based upon the people who participated in the proceeding. So the like you talked about, the rules of secrecy, the DA's office and officers of the court, which happen to be robbery homicide detectives, are not going to reveal that information. And that won't, if indeed it is a grand jury and panel, it's not going to come out until after the indictment is filed. And then once the indictment is basically from the grand jury, and that will confirm all of these things.
Yeah, that was on the other one.
If it is true that Morgan Roth is
that was on the other one. That was on the news channel, man. I still got that. We still good over there.
Testifying. Why would they?
This in the lab live. It's my music channel.
Well, I think generally speaking, in a crime, you don't do grand juries on the local level. You do a preliminary hearing, which means you would have a probable cause. You arrest somebody, and then you present your probable cause to a judge. The judge would determine if you have enough probable cause to support that arrest. I think in this case, the grand jury was impaneled because they want to look in the witness statements and have no surprises during trial. So I think it's a very effective legal strategy, because you're going to basically have your trial, know what all these people are going to say before you have to put them out in the public. But in terms of that person testifying, if he indeed testified, like I said,
doing the music news in so many words, and since this involves David in the music industry, it most definitely makes it, a movie. I mean, a music type case. So yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? We focus on the music over here. We do everything else over there with the world news. It
won't be confirmed until there's an indictment. I think having him there as a witness is logical, because he was interacting with their person of interest throughout this whole process, and he is going to have some explaining to do if he indeed understood there was a crime, because there's another law, at least in the federal system, called misprision of felony, which means if you knew there was a crime and you took efforts not to report it, that puts you in some sort of legal jeopardy. So this case is starting to kind of come together, and I think it appears that there may be an indictment here shortly.
You mentioned what potential liability could be there if someone knew about a crime and didn't report it. But why grill him about that? I thought it was interesting to suggest, what was he told, by whom, when did he know it? Because you have somebody who's directly connected to David. You have somebody talking about the tour. The tour was going on when Celeste's body was discovered. There's still a question of how long she was in that car. They believe it was for quite some time. But just assuming these statements are true, and assuming that he was really grilled about this and was questioned about this, what does that tell you about his alleged involvement? What does that tell you about anybody else's alleged involvement? And of course, most importantly, what does that tell you about David's potential alleged involvement?
Take a step back and look at the elements of the crime, and knowledge and intent, or consciousness of guilt, demonstrates intent. So I think when they're saying, why didn't you report this? They're basically saying there was a cover-up, and a cover-up would be indicative of consciousness of guilt. So I think what she's trying to do is establish the consciousness of guilt, not only by him, but by the person that they have targeted in terms of this investigation. So it is relevant that oh, hey, why did you not report this? Because they want to know if somebody told him not to report this, and which that would show consciousness of guilt.
Is there a possibility that there could be an explanation here where David had absolutely no idea what was going on, that David had absolutely no idea that Celeste was in the car, that he wasn't informed of anything because he was on tour, they didn't want to distract him from tour? And we can jump to the other conclusion, right? We can jump to these other conclusions about what David's alleged involvement is. We don't know for sure. Again, he hasn't been arrested, been criminally charged. Authorities haven't officially come out and called him a suspect or a person of interest. But is it possible that if you dissect that statement, you could wonder, was David properly communicated anything about what was going on?
Well, obviously we're speculating this show, but you have to kind of apply a logical inference. He was very close to David. He was his tour manager. He's making lots and lots of money on this guy. So there's a high probability that he was aware of the relationship between David and the decedent. And I want to make one more point. We have a lot of things going on in this case, but we still have to go back to the fact that a child was found dismembered in a car. Period. End of story. We have all the people get involved and reporting on this and putting their opinions and this and that and the other, but we have to go back to it's about justice for this child. She has rights even though she's deceased, and we have to respect those rights.
And to be clear, there is obviously mixed reporting on the state of her body. Was it dismembered or not? What we do know is she's dead. What we do know is her decomposed body was found in that car. There's a question of what happened. There's a question of was this a homicide? Was this just a cover-up of her body and disposal of her body, which is insane to be thinking about. But again, you're 100% right. We want to keep that. We want answers because we want answers for her and her family. This idea, though, that you might have people testifying in front of the grand jury and potentially Morgan, does that also tell you anything about a second suspect? I've mentioned this before on Sidebar, I'll mention it again. You had acclaimed criminal defense attorney Mark Geragos, who said on his Two Angry Men podcast that there is a second suspect that has been identified by authorities, somebody who is connected to the disposal of Celeste's body, saying they've got this thing down to a timeline that's almost down to the minute, triangulated down to the location. It's social media, cell phone, Tesla, it's other GPS tracking devices. Is it possible that when we're talking about a grand jury, and we're talking about potentially people who testified, including this guy who was connected to David, could this all be about a second suspect?
Well, I think it comes back to the legal strategy, just based on my experience using grand jury. She wants to make sure there's no surprises when they put this out, because the media attention on this is quite high. But to your point about a second suspect, that's part of the grand jury, an investigative grand jury, to ask those questions to see if there's some sort of either a conspiracy to be involved in this murder or crime or disposal of body, or was there a conspiracy to cover it up? She's using the grand jury like the founding fathers had designed it, is to conduct an investigation, get everything out the record, and make sure that justice is served for her, complete justice. That means everybody that was involved in this will see justice.
Colin, it's no secret that law enforcement authorities are trying not to reveal too much about this investigation. Steve Fisher, that post on X, okay? There were a lot of parts in that post that line up with different aspects of this case, talking about his client who's connected to the case, talking about a deputy DA, referring to her as she, possibly Beth Silverman. This idea, testifying in front of a grand jury. We're talking about a potential grand jury here. The Emmys office, right? I mentioned that before. His, take on what the Emmys office is allowed or not allowed to say is very consistent with what we're seeing. I think it's a fair argument to say this is about the Celeste Rivas Hernandez David case. We don't know for sure. We don't know for sure what Steve is saying. What did you take away from that? Fight back against this, and this idea that also law enforcement and the DA's office, they're trying seemingly to not release any information about what's going on right now.
Well, as a former law enforcement officer and somebody who's a private citizen, if I'm asked to participate or assist in finding justice for a child, I'm going to do it. And I'm also a licensed private investigator, which is part of the code of ethics that investigators in California are under. You know, arguably you can make that argument where they have to cooperate with law enforcement. But the post was so long, and you have to take a step back and say, what was the harm to him to go back and testify and support this investigation? And do we need to do and cooperate? If law enforcement asked me as a PI, hey, can you just keep it down a notch and just stay quiet while we get through this? I'm absolutely going to do that. And I'm going to tell them whatever you need me to do, I'm going to do. So to his point about he was blindsided by this, it appears to me they were kind of giving him a heads up before they did serve him with a summons to come down. That's what that note was about. But of course, we're only speculating at this point because I haven't talked to this Mr. Fisher about what happened.
Can you still talk to your client about what's going on, about what you testified to in the grand jury? Because his point seems also he's got a conflict here. You say I can't say anything, but I got a client I'm supposed to be reporting to.
Well, he's not a lawyer, so there's no private investigator privilege, so to speak, with a client, unless that client is a lawyer and the lawyer has put it under attorney-client privilege. So most likely, no, he has to cooperate, or he has to kind of, keep it down, kind of stop what he's doing, at least until they get through this grand jury phase. But to put that out on X with all of that information and basically airing his grievances, it's really not a good move in my opinion.
Okay, let me ask you
this. What's up, Flipmo?
Why is it such a big deal? What is the worst case scenario if the ME's office was allowed to release information? What's the worst case scenario if information from the grand jury was released? I think all of us need to understand why, if it's true, the LAPD, the deputy district attorney, why they don't want information released about this case, particularly if there's a grand jury going on, but why in general, so many eyeballs on this, a lot of speculation. We want the family to have answers. What is the biggest danger to an investigation, to potential charges, if information is released at this time?
Well, you basically have two reasons. One is a media reason, in my opinion, is basically they don't want to fuel the fire, all the speculation and conspiracy theories and all this. And so they want to kind of keep everything close to the vest. They've been through this. The DA's office is the center of high-profile crime. The second reason is, based upon what's in the ME report, it might tip off somebody who doesn't know they're under suspicion. And so they want to make sure they keep all that to themselves, so they have an opportunity to perhaps talk to everybody and they're not tipped off.
If it's true Beth Silverman is heading up this case, I mentioned some of her career highlights. That's a big name to be a part of this. What do you make of that?
Well, just the fact that she impaneled an investigative grand jury shows me her level of, if true, good point. It shows me her level of sophistication and talent, and she knows what she's doing. And she is arguably probably the best homicide DA in that office and the most experienced. So she really is making sure, if it is true that she has a grand jury, that all of her T's are crossed and her I's are dotted, and it's going to be a clean prosecution, as clean as you can have a prosecution in this type of case.
I wanted to ask real quick also about the Santa Barbara trip. I don't know if we've had a chance to talk about it, but it's now a point that seems to be confirmed by law enforcement.
They think that's why it might have happened.
Whether or not that is somehow in connection to what happened to Celeste, either her death or disposal of her body, Spring. What do you make of that?
Well, I think once again, speculating what's on the supercomputer in that Tesla and or a phone, they're going to see a certain amount of time that he was in Santa Barbara, and that might be a key point in their timeline in terms of what happened to Celeste. Like I said, we don't know who did this, what they did, or who's doing it, but based upon that, they confirmed this fact, the LAPD, that he was in Santa Barbara for a set period of time. I can only speculate that they may be matching up or reconciling that with her time of death. And that's why that time is so important of when he was in Santa Barbara.
Colin L. Schmidt, thanks for coming on, trying to make sense of this for us. Really appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate it.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. You can follow me on X or Instagram. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak.
So we find out, that basically, man, it's been a secret grand jury meeting, you know what I'm saying, that's been held in this situation, and one of the witnesses is uncooperative and finna get locked up. You know what I'm saying? Ain't that crazy, y'all? It's crazy. I said, wow. So, man, with this case, it's so much going on, man, to the point where I told y'all a while ago that there was PI man, the private investigator, feels like he knows who moved the body. I'm just like, man, this is crazy, guys. Out of everything it just becomes more and more every time. That's the crazy part about it. And I was like, now they looking at a different location that she probably could have been taken out of. I don't know, man. Y'all thinking about it so far, and why he ain't in jail? That's another big deal. Like, bro, why is he not locked up? Find out his dad is a lawyer. Then you like, that could be the reason. Absolutely, man. You know what I'm saying? But they are, looking to make an arrest, according to the news. It's crazy. Check it out.
Broken, the teen runaway might have been dismembered before being stuffed into the Tesla trunk, but also that she might have been frozen. We've got news on that news. So what does all of it mean for her famous singer boyfriend, David? Turns out
she was froze for months.
We'll
and
explain why.
She not. It's
and
crazy.
Also,
y'all.
Please check out Drop Dead Serious, my podcast.
One
I'd
of the
like to say it's this show's just Google.
One of the craziest things that I done seen, guys. I'm just like, man, it's crazy. All right, let me go.
This weekend, there was bombshell reporting that Celeste Rivas Hernandez's body had likely been frozen. She's a young runaway whose boyfriend, singer David, is much older, and in whose Tesla trunk her remains were discovered. Sources told several outlets that Celeste had been decapitated and that her limbs had been removed from her torso, cut into pieces, and then apparently stored in a freezer. But tonight, the captain of the Robbery Homicide Division, the LAPD, is telling People magazine those reports aren't true. Captain Scott Williams tells People that Celeste was not frozen and that, quote, Celeste was decapitated.
See, that's what I was telling y'all earlier. That's crazy. So now they saying that she wasn't frozen and she wasn't, with no head. I'm just saying, like, this, yeah, man, every second it changes.
Stored in a freezer, but wait. The captain of the Robbery Homicide Division of the LAPD is telling People magazine those reports aren't true. Captain Scott Williams tells People that Celeste was not
going on,
and that, quote, Celeste was not decapitated. The whole frozen thing doesn't even make sense. Her body was in the car for weeks, he said. And he added, even if she had been frozen solid when she was put in the car, which there is no evidence to suggest she was, 5 or more weeks in the trunk of a car in spring heat in the middle of summer would not have resulted in a partially frozen body being discovered on September the 8th, end quote. Tonight, the LA Medical Examiner's Office, the people who did the autopsy on Celeste, say that they're officially being barred by court order from saying anything about her death. It was the LAPD that asked the court to do that.
Did y'all hear that?
Outrageous. Say that they're officially being barred by court order from saying anything about her death.
Yes. Wow.
And it was the LAPD that the court did that. And if you find that outrageous, as I do, the ME is not thrilled about it either. The LAPD requested what's called a security hold, and a judge okayed it. But the ME says a security hold is virtually unheard of in other counties.
What's up?
And counter to the mission of what it says is full transparency at the ME's office. So what don't the police want us to know? All I can tell you is that the gag order coincides with the explosive reporting about the whole frozen stuff. Last week, we told you that David is now officially considered a suspect. TMZ reporting that the police have their eyes, though, on a second suspect as well, who may have, quote, been involved before, during, and after Celeste's death, end quote. The outlet says police are focusing on a quick trip in the middle of the night to a remote location in Santa Barbara County that was done back in spring. TMZ says police are focusing on that location as possibly being where Celeste was killed. Remember, Celeste was discovered September 8th, and only then because of a terrible smell coming from the trunk of that Tesla parked just around the block from its mansion. Joining me now is Michelle Dupree, a retired forensic pathologist, former medical examiner, and friend of the show. Dr. Dupree, thanks for being on. I had so many questions when I heard this report. First and foremost, you're not going to get partially frozen body parts at the ME's office if there was a stench coming from the trunk. That would have been a long thawed, long decomposing body. But I do want to ask you if there might be some partial truth to this, that possibly those body parts had been frozen long ago and then had decomposed in the back of the trunk. If that part might be true, what does that do to a medical examiner trying to determine what happened with this body that they've received? What was the cause of death? Would freezing do something to that body?
Absolutely, freezing would. And it is possible that the body was frozen, and then, of course, after 5 weeks would not be frozen when found. But freezing actually damages the cells. It also actually speeds up decomposition once it starts to thaw. Anything that is blunt trauma, a gunshot wound,
body frozen, body not frozen, no head, with a head. You know, it is, man. This case is just all over the place, guys. You know, nothing is really staying consistent throughout. It keeps on changing. I don't know what's going on.
Sharp force injuries, something like that, that would still be available. We would still see that autopsy. But anything that might be subtle, such as strangulation or something of that nature, would be much, much more difficult if the body had been frozen. And of course, once it's so badly decomposed.
I've got 5 seconds left. We had so much breaking news off the top of this program. I just have to ask you how unusual this is that the LAPD asked a court to block the medical examiner from releasing any details.
It's very unusual. Transparency is part of it, but it is not unheard of. If they really think it's going to affect the investigation, then it's warranted.
Dr. Dupree, I'll have to have you back on when I've got more minutes for us, because I have so many questions for you. Thank you for this tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Still ahead, a fancy boat, a sunset sail, and a designer who's dead by dawn.
Yeah, man. Most definitely. Hey, I'm just saying, it's so many twists and turns, man. It's like every second is something else. Well, we thought it was, and then it don't even turn out to be that. The body was wrong. Everything you done heard is wrong. I don't know, man. That's all I can say is, man, look, it's so much going on in this situation. That don't make no sense. And just like I said, I can't understand how Buddy ain't already locked up. You know what I'm saying? I can't understand why he ain't already locked up. I just don't understand, man. You know, because before I wasn't paying attention to this really no more. You know, I was hearing all kind of things. You know, body frozen. You know, chopped into pieces. That's what the news was reporting the whole time. Now they have backslid and said no, the body wasn't frozen. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, what's really going on? Could this be a cover-up? I'm just saying, could it be? Lord have mercy. More on the body not being frozen.
An LAPD official is pushing back on the claim that the body of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez was frozen and decapitated, while the LA County Medical Examiner's Office has confirmed there is a hold in place on any information coming out about what may have happened to her. There is a lot to break down. Let's get into it right now. So, of course,
body frozen, body not frozen. You can no head with a head. I mean, what is
where we do not currently the Celeste Rivas Hernandez and
scenarios going on all of a sudden?
We have another update in the Celeste Rivas Hernandez investigation. So, in the case where we do not currently have an announced cause or manner of death for the 14-year-old teenager from Lake Elsinore, California, who disappeared last year, whose body was apparently found in a bag in the trunk of a Tesla registered to singer David back in September out in the Hollywood Hills, there has been a lot of speculation on what happened to her, and a lot of confusion as to why the LA County Medical Examiner hasn't listed this information out yet. So the thought was that they're still waiting for toxicology reports, more information. It was listed as deferred. And then we go to the latest reporting from TMZ, which, by the way,
they keep switching.
I don't know, was maybe debunked. So it came out that sources close to the investigation told TMZ that Celeste's body was frozen, that it had actually been thawing out when it was found in the car, that she had been decapitated, that her limbs had been severed, cut into pieces, and whether that complicated knowing for sure what happened to her. Here's the problem. This just came out. An LAPD captain and commanding officer of the Robbery Homicide Division told People magazine, this isn't true. Quote, Celeste's body was not frozen. She was not decapitated. The whole frozen thing doesn't even make sense. Her body was in the car for weeks. Even if she had been frozen solid when she was put in the car, which there is no evidence to suggest she was, 5 or more weeks in the trunk of a car in sweltering heat in the middle of summer would not have resulted in a partially frozen body being discovered on September 8th. Now, Williams previously said that Celeste had been dead for at least several weeks. What is going on? And now we got to talk about what just happened, okay? This is real. The medical examiner's office has removed information from Celeste's case on its publicly available website. So according to a release from authorities yesterday, quote, at 10:54 a.m. on Friday, November 21st, the County of Los Angeles Department of Medical Examiner received a court order initiated by the Los Angeles Police Department to place a security hold on medical examiner case number 2025-14252 Celeste Rivas Hernandez. No records or details associated with the case, including the cause and manner of death and medical examiner report, can be released or posted on the website until further notice. The department's mission is to have full transparency with the community by providing information about our cases to empower people to make changes that save lives. Since becoming the department head, I've worked on eradicating the practice of placing security holds on medical examiner cases simply by law enforcement request. The practice of security holds is virtually unheard of in other counties and has not been
unheard of. Why they're doing it there? See what I'm saying, man? You got to pay attention to what's going on. You don't want to miss nothing. Some might slide past. You got to most definitely pay attention. This is crazy, guys. They say, man, this is really unheard of. Why are they keeping the coroner for being able to put on what's going on with this case? You got something not adding up. I'm just saying, heck, yeah, someone is lying. Man, you better believe it. Somebody telling the untruth.
To improve outcomes in the legal system. We are dedicated to serving our community with full transparency. However, the law precludes us from doing so while the court order remains in this case. The department previously received a request for a security hold from the LAPD on this case on September 15, 2025, which was denied due to insufficient justification to warrant the hold. The department understands the public's interest in this case and remains committed to transparency when possible. Information will be made available once the court order is lifted. For questions about the court order, timeline, and the law enforcement investigation into this death, you can contact the LAPD. Now, I will add this. LAPD Captain Mike Bland told NBC4 Investigates, quote, this is an ongoing RHD homicide case. Robbery Homicide Division. And the purpose of the court order is to ensure the LAPD receives information on this case from the medical examiner's office before the public does. And by the way, Steve Fisher, who we've had on this program before, the private investigator who was hired by the owner of that rental property that David was reportedly staying at, which was near where this abandoned Tesla with Celeste's body inside where it was found or it was towed. Again, someone we've had on this show numerous times to talk about his investigation. He wrote this on X, quote, I appreciate the commitment to transparency by the LA County Medical Examiner's Office. They previously denied an LAPD request for a security hold on the case. Now, LAPD obtained a court order sealing the case. The type of news release from the medical examiner's office leads me to believe a cause and manner of death have been determined in the case of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and the ME's investigative and autopsy reports are completed. Busy, right? Now, to couple that, something else I got to talk about. According to the LA Times, according to court documents that they reviewed, a detective has categorized this investigation as a, quote, investigation into murder. Now, that is very significant because the LAPD previously indicated that there might not be a crime beyond concealment of a body. So this was paperwork in support of not releasing the ME's findings, which I just mentioned. And you had LAPD Detective Joshua Byers, who filed that release of these autopsy findings could taint or jeopardize this apparent murder investigation. Quote, will reveal or tend to reveal the ongoing investigation and the integrity of the investigation, as well as the identity of witnesses and or informants who are cooperating with law enforcement and the content of the information they have provided, which could endanger the lives of witnesses and or compromise the investigation. And Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Craig Richmond granted the LAPD's request with respect to not releasing the ME's information. By the way, last week, LAPD Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton, who oversees the department's detective operations, said, quote, accountability is coming. Our RHD detectives have been working and not waiting for that decision by the medical examiner. They are going to get justice for Celeste Rivas. No one is off the table, including him, seemingly referring to David. Let me bring on right now a special guest to try to get some clarity about what all this means. I want to bring on Dr. Nada Rutherford, Richland County coroner here. Doctor, thank you so much for coming on. Let's start first off. What is a security hold, and how often do you see something like that?
It's very rare that we see a security hold, but usually when we see it, it means that there is very valuable and specific information about that cause of death and the manner of death that they do not want to release to the public. It means that there is something so unique about that death that they want to hold that information close to the chest so that they can still conduct their investigation without the public frenzy that they know will happen once they start releasing details. So whether that's drugs were in the system, the way the body was found, they've said that she wasn't dismembered, but was there something else unique about the trauma that could have been associated with her body? They have something specific that they do not want the public to know right now. And in my humble opinion, as a person who works with law enforcement and as a coroner who does active investigations, if there's something very specific and we release that to the public, we could totally mess up the entire investigation. You could lose witnesses. They don't want to deal with whatever information was found. Right now, they are still doing active investigation. And so if holding that information close to their chest is going to help them get justice for this potentially murdered 15-year-old, then I think that they should do it, and everyone should be in agreement with that.
So do you agree with Steve that right now the ME's office has definitively a cause and manner of death for Celeste Rivas Hernandez?
I do believe they know what her cause and manner of death are at this point. And the fact that they have pushed for this hold so hard, they denied the first one. And then they went back again.
What did you make of that fact that they requested it all the way back September 15th, 7 days after her body was found?
They want to keep information close to them for this investigation. You have to think about this. You have someone who's a celebrity. You have someone who has money, power, resources, and the people around that person also have money, power, and resources. So how do you infiltrate and penetrate all of those things if you are giving all of the information to the public? I'm all for transparency, but gosh, we want to know what happened to her, and the people doing the investigation should have that information first before the public gets it and tears it up.
And just to be clear, if we take all this as true, if it was denied all the way back in September, there's a possibility, would I be totally wrong by saying maybe they didn't have the cause and manner of death yet? Maybe it was too premature. Maybe it was too early, the LAPD, to request that no information be shared. But now the ME's office may have cause and manner of death, and the whole situation has changed. And maybe you're right. There's something in there that they say this is going to taint the investigation. So do you think that my timeline might be right there?
When you have a body that is decomposed, it takes longer to get that cause and manner of death. The body is breaking down. It is literally liquefying. You've got a car found in a hot area encased in metal, and the body is going to break down even faster. Whether she was frozen, not frozen, you put a body out in the heat, it's going to decompose. And we don't know how this body exactly was found. Was it found encased in plastic? Was it found inside of a suitcase? How was the body found? How was it dressed? How was it draped or clothed? All of those things become so important. This girl's been missing for a year before her body was discovered.
And there have been reports about when her last known sighting was. I will get into a second when it seems authorities believe she might have died. Put that to the side for a second. You mentioned something very important here. This back and forth on freezing. I said this in our episode yesterday. If this reporting is true, not true, how distressing this must be for the family to hear something like this. But I have to tell you, when I was doing the episode, I was like, it doesn't make sense that the body was found thawing. It was in a hot car. When would a frozen body have been transferred? It seems that when the car was parked there, the body was already inside. So the fact that you have, it's very hard to get definitive information in this case. And yes, there's speculation. Sources say this. But this idea of the body being frozen and thawing out, I got to say, I'm not surprised that it's been debunked.
I don't know, because we've been going with that the whole time. That's been the narrative for the longest, that it was frozen. So for y'all to come back and say, well, now it's not frozen, still to suspicion of, well, why they said it was frozen in the first place.
Here's the thing. The medical examiner knows exactly how that body was presented to them and to that office. So even if, let's say she was frozen, let's say they're trying to throw us off by saying, oh, that wasn't the case. Her body would be well preserved had it been frozen. And you would actually have more of a whole body in front of you. So if she was thawing in the car, yes, she's going to decompose, and the rate of decomposition
she might have been in the baby weight. Okay.
But if she was frozen and then put in the car, like let's say she was stored someplace, we've had cases like this here in our county where someone was in a deep freezer for years, and then the body started to decompose once the power was cut off to that site. So the idea of her body being frozen and thawing, it's a very real possibility. But that ME's report, that autopsy report, how that body was found, and that determination of how long she could have possibly been dead, they have so many things that they can utilize, from bug activity to looking at just how much of her body had decomposed. Was there parts of her body that were mummified? Was she left someplace and then frozen? You would see decomposition even in that. So there's a lot that the medical examiner's report is going to have in it.
Do you think, based on what I just read to you, this holds? Do you think there's a possibility that it's undetermined? They can't tell exactly what happened to her? Or does that seem unlikely? Because if it was undetermined, why not release that information unless they believe?
Why not release all the information?
Uproar, how could you not know what happened? There's obviously there's a number of reasons why that could be, and please elaborate on them. But do you think it's maybe unlikely that the cause of death, the manner of death, is undetermined?
It's a possibility. You have 5 manners of death to choose from: natural, accidental, suicide, homicide, and undetermined. Those are the 5 manners of death. So when you get to undetermined, it means that all of the other manners of death are equally likely, and you cannot make a determination. And again, the state that her body was in is going to be very, very important. If there are any organs that they can look at her liver? Can they look her kidney? Are her eyes intact enough to be able to pull vitreous out, to be able to determine if there's any, blood or a chemical that's in her system that has kind of been able to be maintained in that vitreous fluid? What other things are present? And so what I hear when I'm reading all this and I'm hearing all these different reports, they know something, and they are trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together.
They know something. They need to make a arrest.
Who made that response from the chief medical examiner regarding the security hold? My interpretation is there's a bit of resistance here, right? There's a bit of resistance, and that was a statement to make there. What'd you make of that?
So I think he's frustrated. I think he's saying, I want to release this information, but They're telling me that I cannot do it. I think he just really wants his hands out of it, because once they make their determination and it goes to court, he can talk about his findings and explain everything. But I'm sure his office is getting railed with the number of phone calls, requests that are coming in from the media outlets, the community outcry from all of this. So I think it's probably more of a resistance, like, please let's go ahead and release this so that we can get back to all of the thousands of cases that we have coming through that office.
The line to empower people to make changes that save lives, does that indicate something about what might have happened to Celeste?
Here's what I take from that. This girl was, and not that she deserved to die, so I am not saying that. You have a 15-year-old history running away. You have a 15-year-old who maybe was getting into some trouble, and maybe they want to release information that will be a cautionary tale to some of the other children in that area who may be runaways, who may be rebelling against their parents or the homes that they're growing up in. So maybe that's what he means. But what I took from his statement was that he wants the public to know what happened, but he also has followed the court order. So I certainly don't feel like he's trying to be combative in his response, but he certainly wants to release the information.
And based on everything that's come out now, this time, does it seem to you that Celeste was murdered?
This is smelling a lot like a homicide. Smells a lot like a homicide. It does not seem like a natural death. Could it be accidental? Sure. Could it be self-inflicted? Sure. But it's smelling a lot like a homicide.
You know, it was reported that LAPD may be considering David a suspect, and that there was potentially a second suspect as well. TMZ reporting about this trip that the singer allegedly took to a remote area in Santa Barbara in the spring, and you, LAPD official, not authorized to speak publicly about the investigation, but apparently told NBC4 Investigates that Celeste potentially died in the spring. What do you make of that potential time of death? And what do you make of who potentially could be involved in disposing of her body in whatever way her body was ultimately disposed of?
So if her last known moments to be spring, then it would make a whole lot of sense that her body was preserved to the point that they had a smelling, rotten body in a car decomposing. That would make a lot of sense. This is why I keep going back to this. Again, I know they said, oh, they've debunked this rumor. No, they really haven't, in my opinion, because all it takes is a person who can read through all of these different reports and all these different accounts. If she was there and all of a sudden wasn't, where was she? The people who were with her should know where she was, and they should be able to give an account as to where she may have been. Was hiding her out? Did something happen? He's with another person on this trip. Was it just him and Celeste? Who were the people who last saw Celeste alive? And it's going to take people knocking on doors, asking questions, and trying to appeal to their human nature to say, what happened to this 15-year-old kid?
Okay, Green.
She's not a young adult at this point. She is a child who is around adults who may have wanted to do her harm for whatever the reasons may be.
Here's the $1 million question. How long does this court order last? If you experience, here's the bottom question. When do you think we will all get answers as to the cause and manner of death? When will that be released? How long will the court order be in place for? Will there be an arrest first and then it be lifted? In your experience, what can we anticipate there?
In my experience, usually there's an arrest, then release information. So it's one of those things where they want to have all of their ducks in a row and then share with the public how they came to make the arrest that they made, which makes a lot of sense from an investigative standpoint. But from a public interest standpoint, it's like, who may have done this to her? And is there cause for community concern? Is there someone going around snatching 15-year-olds who may have a little bit of trouble in their past, luring them away from their homes or luring them away from whatever safe place they're in and killing them? So I think there is a definite reason for public interest in this case. Out of just the sensationalism that you have a wealthy, star singer who may have been involved in this, but what other information does the public need to know? And is this something that can be used as a cautionary tale for students who may be in the same situation?
I ask every guest this, and I hope you can provide some light on it as well. Is Celeste's family going to be notified first about cause and manner of death before anybody else. I know this is a sensitive investigation, but given how high profile this is, how many different theories there are, should they be notified? Do you think they have the information right now? What would you think best practices are?
To me, the family should know first. In my investigations, before I do a press conference, before I do a news release, I sit down and I talk with that family, whether it's via phone, whether it's in person.
The family should have been
Always
investigated
speak
first.
to them and say, hey, here's the cause of death. Here's the manner of death. Here's the information that I'm going to release to the media. I want to give you a heads up that these are the things that will be said so that you are hearing them firsthand from me and not from a media outlet. And to me, that gives respect not only to the deceased person who's died, but also to the family and the grief that they are having.
I really
Candy
appreciate
Crush, he
you.
was just
And
a
I
baby.
really appreciate you
Absolutely.
coming. And thank you so much for giving your perspective on this as we tried to navigate what is true, what are the answers, what can we expect. This is a unique case. I mean, there's whiplash right now, back and forth, and my thoughts, my prayers are with the family right now. This is a very difficult journey for them to navigate, but thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, that's crazy, y'all. I mean, it's just, yeah, she's frozen. No, she's not frozen. No head. Yes, she did have a head. There's so much going on, man. It's just like I said, so many moving parts, man. And everybody's really trying to figure out how to put all these pieces to the puzzle together. But I know one thing: all signs point to David. If you ask me, I'm just saying, why he ain't in there? That's up for debate, man. We found out Daddy was a lawyer, a litigator for a law firm. I'm just saying his daddy, most definitely got it, going over there when it comes to the legal system. Maybe that's how he's avoiding getting arrested. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. There's plenty of people trying to break this all down, man. You know what I'm saying? Before we get up out of here, man. There's plenty of people trying to break this down. Let's see what Trap LaRosse or Trap Moros, has to say about this whole situation. Let's see if he's as puzzled as we are. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody in the building.
This case, David, we can't even call it a murder case yet. The mysterious case of the death of Reva Hernandez. Rest in peace to the 14-year-old girl who didn't even make it to her 15th birthday. And she was tragically found deceased inside the car belonging to the singer David. Now, everybody's been trying to get to the bottom of this case. And today, I want to take a deeper look.
Everybody trying to get to the bottom. Everybody
might have actually lost her life. He
don't
surfaced
make
in this
sense.
car in September of 2025. Ironically, just within a day or so of what would have been her 15th birthday. She was unfortunately deceased for quite some time, according to a number of sources. And what's really tragic about this is right now, at least from the public point of view, we still have absolutely no idea when she passed away. And everybody's been trying to work out, was the body held? People are talking about the body might have been frozen. Again, there's no disrespect.
It's wow.
This is a human being we're talking about. This is Celeste. Rest in peace to her. But her body, what was left behind her remains, there's talk that it was cut in pieces, put into bags, separated, dismembered, all of this horrible stuff. But the one thing that remains, the big question is, when did this happen? When was the last time she was seen alive? And today in this video, I'm going to take a close look.
Body doubles, playing months in advance. It's a lot going on with this story, guys, and it just keeps getting crazier by the second, man. Two girlfriends named the same exact name, look almost like similar, and then they turn around and say, hey man, this could have just been him trying to act like Celeste was still alive. Yeah, I'm just blown away, like, wow, that's crazy. But the women got a double in so many words to make it appear that she was still alive. It's crazy.
To look at all of the evidence about when she was lost alive, trying to at least answer once and for all what is the most likely scenario when she actually lost her life and begun, no longer being seen in public, no longer being seen on the digital footprint vanished. So I am going to break it all down in this video. Now, shout out to the guy, Steve Fisher, okay, the David private investigator, okay,
the private investigator comes back.
He has really made his name with this particular case. It is
even some of your favorite bloggers, watch Law and Crime, including me. I'll be on it, man. You know what I'm saying? They get Law and Crime. I'm just saying, man, Law and Crime gonna keep you on point. They gonna tell you everything they know with the facts behind it, or let you know if it's some BS.
Actually crazy. And I did cover the situation with him allegedly being silenced by the grand jury or hauled in front of the grand jury. And now, okay, he is part of the case. He's part of the trial and he can't even speak on it. But despite his remains, despite him speaking on the fact that her remains were found in September, he would actually claim, he would actually claim in an interview with Law and Crime that basically the last known photos of her alive date all the way back to January the 2nd, 2025. Listen to this.
Property?
So, of what we recovered, we don't have any of her at that property.
Celeste was ever at that property?
So, of what we recovered, we don't have any of her at that property. We have pictures of her and that were taken by David, we assume, because it's not on a camera, at different locations. And it really makes me think that it's likely she had another place she was staying. I can tell you that there was a lot of time spent towards downtown LA. And I'll say the last photo that we have of Celeste is January 2nd, 2025.
Okay, now that's significant because we were wondering when
it's something going on. This is crazy.
Was that surveillance footage of her seemingly running away from her neighborhood,
and that was September of 24, I believe. So we were like, where was this girl in 2025? But we do have a photo of her on July 2nd, early in the morning, July 2nd, 2025.
So apparently, photo her July 2nd, 2025. I feel like he might have I don't know if he misspoke there. I originally thought that it was January the 2nd, 2025. Okay, but here's what we're gonna do. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to this infamous Instagram account, okay? This is an account that surfaced around the same sort of time. It was known as David's Gallery. Check this out. Extra David, followed by the David Files.
The inside stuff right here.
Shout out the David Files. But this is a very sus account, all right?
Yeah, very sus.
Interesting pics.
Is the picture sus?
Dating back quite a long time.
Let's go.
48 weeks ago. The first post was on January the 2nd, 2025. Okay, what does this translate to? Death from smoking. Excuse me?
Wow.
Deaths from smoking this year, 1813 in county. January the 2nd. Give it a rest. Now, according to the Redditor Jimmy the Ween, okay, at the time of creation, the profile picture was Hello Kitty holding a camera, a character that Celeste loved. Okay, there's been a whole bunch of Hello Kitty lore going around. Now the whole picture has changed, but a lot of people have thought there's some weird stuff on this account. Look at this beautiful scape that didn't make it to the main page. Love it though. People have been wondering, where was this? When was this? Was this some weird trip of him going somewhere to do something that he shouldn't have been doing? This is all creepy.
Remember, they said she been on live somewhere else.
The second, and the first picture was taken.
Being brought back to that house.
Hell. Now, according to Steve Fisher, when this picture was taken, it's likely that Celeste was still alive. Okay, likely, it's possible. Now, interestingly, the same beach in this photograph, death from smoking, right? And people saying this was the day that she was last caught on photo in his camera. He started the page and captioned the photo, death from smoking. That is crazy. Is this the day, David? Right? Is this near Santa Barbara? Just saying. Smoking what? Last picture of Celeste was on January the 2nd, and David took it. So I do think Steve Fisher probably misspoke, and January the 2nd is what he meant to say. I think he said back. But this same beach.
We talking about the David and Celeste case, my guy. New information has come out. That's pretty much what it's about, and we just reviewing it. Some of the new information that's then came involving this case, like her not being frozen, his dad being a lawyer, a mystery witness that could be going to jail. You know what I'm saying? According to court docs, that type of thing. You into that type of thing, you know what I'm saying? Subscribe to the channel, double tap that screen, hit the like. That's what's going on here, my guy.
Appear months later in David's announcement of his Withered Deluxe album. Yes, withered, withered. What a flower or a body does when it dies, when it decays. Weirdo behavior. Now, this appears to be the same beach. Okay, the same location. And when was this? David's announcing his Withered Deluxe Marcescence album. It's out September the 19th. What date was this posted? You actually can't see this, but I'm hovering over this. The date that this was posted. Oh, here it is. It's down here. September 7th. September, eh? Yes. September 7th. Celeste's birthday was September the 7th, and she would have turned 15 on September the 7th, 2025, but tragically passed away just before her body was found on the 8th. One day after her birthday, you announced the project Withered Deluxe Marcescence at this beach, where you posted the picture. You posted the picture on a very interesting day, right? Same beach. You're a weirdo.
Yeah, too many moving parts, Colin.
The flowers. Is it actually the
for
same
the people
picture?
to keep up with? This story, like this, is a horrible storyline.
It's not even the same beach. It's the same picture. This
is like an unalivened mystery. I'm just saying, they're just going in circles.
Every time I do this, I'm just like, bro, there's more. Every song written exclusively by me on my phone, baby. This is a passion project. I put the raw emotional weight my music carries and how much it means to all. Thank you to all the friends that collaborated with me on this. Everyone ate their verses up. It's the same location when he started this account. What the hell? All right. Now, in the case of that smoking sign video clip, okay, that was actually traced back to a spot basically on Santa Monica and Veteran Ave, which is actually very close to where David was living. So this is the billboard that he posted on that Instagram account, right? So let me, if I just pull that up. So this is it, right? That's the billboard. It's the same billboard, it's the same spot. That's where he was, right? That's where he was. You can see the street sign, Veteran Ave, all of that stuff on Veteran Avenue. Now, a deleted photo believed to be from that same evening actually shows David in a landscape, someone behind the camera taking the picture, confirming that he probably wasn't alone. What's this all about? Seems to be the same place. Now, the day after this, on January the 3rd, 2025, there will be another post that showed pictures of a rocky stream with the caption, "My sight is beautiful." And according to the investigator, Steve Fisher, there is no more photographs of Celeste being alive after this point. There's no evidence of Celeste being alive.
I already knew.
And his little fake Japanese, "My sight is beautiful." It's written hi. Now, this is interesting, right? I don't know if there's a way of me doing it, but if you turn this upside down, turn your screen or tilt your head. If you turn your head upside down, that says 14, which is the age of Celeste when this picture was taken. That's facts.
Lord, not the numerology.
Right, I'll keep it real. That's facts. All right.
Say you turn the phone upside down.
Reddit has managed to.
If you turn the phone upside down, this says 14, guys. You know, yeah, okay, I bet. You know what I'm saying? You say tilt your phone, turn it upside down. That picture is supposed to say 15, taken by David, which is the same time the age she was when she was unalive. Lord, have mercy. Let the conspiracy theories roll, but Trap say he ain't playing. That's really what it say.
That's it. All right, I'll keep it real. That's facts. All right.
Say that's facts.
Now, Reddit has managed to track this location down too. This is Millard Canyon Falls, about an hour away from Los Angeles, okay? Millard Canyon Falls, January the 2nd, okay? Angeles National Forest. From David's gallery, they tracked it down. Now, after that, on January the 4th, the next day, or the day after the next day, there would be a photo captioned, "Not my best work, but I meditated here today." Let's just translate it. "Not my best work, but I meditated here today." Interesting, okay? Now, later on that month, the account would go, essentially, it went silent for a 20-day hiatus before the next post was then made on January the 28th, 2025. Okay, this was the next post, back on the beach. And he said, "I've been abhorrently sad as of late, which is why I haven't been inspired to post here in a while, but I went to the beach with my friend this morning and it made me feel better." He was saying,
that's just that little inside stuff. He didn't take time to scour the internet, find things on David, all on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Trap, man.
Hi. Last pictures of Celeste taken. You got birds flying away, flying through the clouds, and you're basically talking about I've been abhorrently sad. I took 20 days off of posting on this Insta account. Now, between February and May 2025, that's what's next, okay? That's an important period of time. Now, the TMZ would essentially reveal that the police mentioned that at some point along the way, David had taken a trip to Santa Barbara, apparently in the middle of the night during spring 2025. This could have been any time, March, April, May, we don't know. But by this time, it is very, very likely that Celeste would have indeed been dead.
The big mystery centers around something that we have
This
now
is what
confirmed
TMZ said.
absolutely as true, that the LAPD has some tracking information where they claim that David took this mysterious trip to a very remote area of Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night.
That's a new spot
in the
where it could
spring
have took place
of 2025. Now that is months before the body was discovered in Los Angeles in a trunk. I don't think it's hard to connect the dots. And he stayed there, by the way, for several hours. So I don't think it's hard to connect the dots that one of the things they seem to be looking at is whether Celeste was killed and he buried the body there or left the body there in some way.
So we're seeing him go into these interesting exotic locations. Now, I've touched on it in a previous video. Go back and watch this video if you want more information. But there, I've touched on the theory. It's not fact. It's just a theory. Could be a wild theory. Could be untrue. But the theory that David's homeboy is right hand and not in the good kind of way, Neo, maybe there was something going on between them. Maybe there was a relationship. Maybe they were just a little maybe they like cuddling up and David slipped his little hand underneath Neo's waist when they were snuggling together taking pictures. Well, following a 4-month gap in posting, that Insta account of David's would post a new photo. And what is it? David with Neo. And
It's
a
his
lady.
partner, Neo,
Is
right?
that his girl? She's so cute. Oh my God. That was in May 2025. And they're saying this is around about that time David went and took that trip to the north where people are thinking maybe that's where something went down. That's Neo groping David's butt.
Wow.
Groping his ass.
Whoa.
I'm just saying there's theories that maybe there was a love triangle going on and maybe Neo wanted David. That's just a theory. That's just opinions, theories, and just a bunch of stuff put together. But this one's brazy. I'm not going to lie. This picture's brazy. After that...
That's what we're wondering. What are they waiting on?
About 2 months and change later, July the 21st, 2025, he posts another photo with Neo. These two, something's...
Wow.
So I miss my matcha bestie so much. Right?
With him and the
Somebody's
friend.
saying have fun in jail. How do you know everyone? Give me your
A
game
guy.
card. He on there with Neo. He on there with the guys. He having fun. He got girls. He's moving on with his life.
Thank you.
It sounds
CB.
like from what the police said, Celeste was very much deceased at this point. Okay, that's merged. Now, cut forward to just days before the police find Celeste's body. David would post a photo of himself with his Finsta smirking.
Yeah.
And they're calling him a chomo. People saying, don't disappoint us, wishing you the best. That was just before this all went left.
Shout out to them.
That smirk after you slimed a 15-year-old girl, 14 actually, right? Him being homeschooled makes so much sense. School is the only time you ever met or women. Him playing Fortnite and them chatting over Discord explains how they met. Not everyone that's chronically online is sick, but everyone chronically online knows how sick vast majority of people that are aware of all the weird stuff that goes on in the community. He was just a weirdo with fame and money. Finally, on September the 7th, 2025, Celeste's birthday, where on his main account, on his official account, he's announcing his project. Over here on the Finsta, on her birthday, David posts this. The final picture.
Wow.
On the extra David account. It's him in a Hello Kitty shirt.
Wow.
Right? This is the character that Celeste loved. This is the character that bonded over. And he's saying, don't let them de-yassify you, Queen. I think in the county, they're going to touches down at the county. And they might yassify the shit out of him. I ain't going to lie. They might yassify him to a whole new level. All right. They might shake. Hey, listen, they might push the yass all deep inside him. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So look, I personally do think that this is a very interesting lineup of pictures and dates. And just for context, okay, this is basically the pictures. P.I. Steve Fisher dropped photo bombs. David with Celeste on the night of December 30th, 2024 in downtown LA, 3 days before she was last known to be alive. And these are photos allegedly taken in DTLA. Okay, just days, holding a knife.
Wow.
If that turns out to be the murder weapon, that's going to be insane. Just days before, all right, this very twisted sets of pictures start going up. Neo there, the clown. You know, Says in Steve Fisher's photo dump, we see David flashing a knife again. Remember him flashing a knife in the stream? It's very, very sad. So this is just days before those last pictures that started going on his Finsta. Look, I do feel like it is possible that maybe she did die on the 2nd of January. I don't want to say it definitively. They're saying maybe it happened in the spring. He took a trip up north in the spring, maybe held onto the body for some time. But also we're hearing that maybe the police are actually keeping cards to their chest and maybe trying to do a little bit of damage control, keep information suppressed so that they can maybe not alert David. But who knows? Maybe I just, in my opinion, this is just some theories that don't hold any weight. This is my personal opinion. I think it's possible that David's already fled the country. I think it's possible that the police really are struggling. They don't have the information they need to make an arrest. Maybe they definitely don't have the information they need to do an extradition. I don't know. We don't know at this stage. Okay, but what I do know is that Finsta account is super creepy, and that fool. He was such a narcissist. He was so about himself and interested in himself. All right. He definitely, no matter what along the way, even if it's not publicly known, he definitely left clues behind that is going to be it's going to be a very, very bad look. Regardless, it's already a bad look, right? But it wouldn't surprise me if this narcissistic guy was just so about, I'm just trying to portray my image a certain way, and he slipped up. Something is in the background that's going to be a big problem for him. That's just my opinion, all right? But let me put you guys to think, what date do you think that the murder took place? When do you guys think this went down? And do you think, am I barking up the wrong tree? Or actually, is this a good theory? Let me know, and I'll keep you guys updated. Whenever there is any update, any new news, I will, of course, keep you guys informed. Thank you.
So, yeah, man, it's a lot going on, man, when it comes to the David Celeste case, man. Just change every day, like I said. Just keep on changing. Was frozen, not frozen, had a head, didn't have a head. The ceiling of the report, the coroner, they say, man, the coroner, they said that is so rare, guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't happen, but basically they have silence for putting out any more information involving this case. I F with Trap already, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, we went over it all, from Law and Crime, what they had to say about it, TMZ, all of these people that's reporting on it, and the story is just changing and changing, guys. Already is me. You already know what time it is. Yeah, and it just keeps on changing day by day, second by second. They're saying that, okay, so they're saying that it's a secret witness, an uncooperative witness, who is basically verge of getting arrested in all of this. They also say, according to the PI, they know who moved the body of Celeste. They said that it was a myth. It was a lie that her body was frozen. It was never frozen, and she most definitely had her head. That's what they saying. Woo, child, what's gonna happen now, man? I don't know what the next twist and turn is in this situation, but as long as they keep me updated, I keep you updated. They're keeping it up in the media. Yes, they are. What's your prediction on this case? I predict that David's going to jail. Okay, I predict that somewhere in the near future, we're going to see this guy go to jail. I don't know why they waiting to take him, but so much of the evidence points to him that it's crazy he ain't already in there, because when it comes to a person, you and me, we'd have been already in there. We'd have been under the jail already. All right, 4876 says the police are getting ready to blow this all up. They're just trying to get all of the evidence together. Wait and see. There are going to be people in staff and buddies. There's going to be people in staff, in buddies of his and him will most likely be arrested. Yeah, I'm feeling like he's gonna be arrested too. You know what I'm saying? Facts, man. He definitely should have been in there. Man, listen, he should have been in there so fast. I don't know how he's still out, but maybe Daddy being a lawyer got something to do with it. He gonna take his own self out before he go to jail. Wait and see. Man, listen, I don't wish harm on nobody, man. You know what I'm saying? Prayers for all involved, because this is definitely crazy. I've been saying it. I bet it's gonna come out, the Cupcake, that he was the one that was moving that car around before he went on tour. Once he went on tour, or the manager or whoever, somebody was moving that car back and forth, and I'm willing to bet it was him. And then he went on tour, wasn't able to keep moving it around no more, so it sat in that one spot till the impound got it. He was bouncing it place to place to keep the record truck from basically picking it up. You know what I'm saying? So he was bouncing around place to place, but when he went on tour, he wasn't there to keep moving it So that's how they were able to get it, you know, and basically haul it off to the impound to where they discovered the body. Other than that, it has still been bouncing place to place, in my opinion. I think it was him, the friend, and the manager. It might be all of them. And then don't forget the video that we seen somebody carrying what looked to be or could have potentially been a body out of that house. You know what I'm saying? Right in front of the cameras. You know, this guy's agent has been talking. He knows a lot in times and dates. He has been talking to the detectives about what he saw and knows he's probably making a deal because he didn't report what he knew. That might be it. You know what I'm saying? Because he said he didn't have no obligation. You know, the one that they overheard talking in the hallway said he didn't know he was obligated to call the police. I'm just saying. He was in the witness that was being questioned by the grand jury. The guy's agent, okay, pray for what the girl already gone. Pray for her family. You know what I'm saying? That's what you need to pray for. That Tesla gonna snitch on them soon. Why haven't they got the cameras out the Tesla? You know, they got 8, 9 of them around there. That's how they got the Julio Fulio unalivers. So you know they got the recording system that work. I wonder why they haven't got the footage. The agent is talking now. TMZ has reported. Okay, pray for her family and justice. Absolutely, that's what you pray for, CB. For real, fingerprints too. Well, they need to come out with it, man. They need to come out and present it to the public, because we most definitely interested to know what happened to this young lady. Well, anyway, y'all, you know what I'm saying? That's all the breaking updates that I have for y'all regarding this situation. I hope you got the information that you knew, expanded on it, and if you didn't know, now you know. You know, be in the know, you know, and what's trending, you know, when it comes to hip-hop news, guys. You know, David and Celeste, this is a big deal. I don't know when they're going to make an arrest, but they say arrest coming soon, guys. So somebody's going to jail over this situation, but they say potentially it's not David. Some people thought they were talking about David, but they saying they're not talking about David. So, you know, we're going to have to just watch close. We're going to have to look, you know, and evaluate everything that's going on. But I see since I started tracking this day by day that there's been a lot that's then came out in this situation. And yeah, man, it seems like we're being spent in a circle, which got some people saying cover up. You know, the conspiracy theories are running rampant at this time, guys. But I appreciate y'all for your time. If you ain't hit that like button, tap the screen. That's all you have to do if you're on the mobile device, or click those 3 dots that's in the right hand corner. Hit that thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. You know what I'm saying? We most definitely looking to expand. Yeah, man, and I brought y'all everything that I could when it came to the Celeste and David situation, all the breaking information that you might have overlooked. You know, I most definitely presented it to you. So shout out to all my members. Shout out to all of my subscribers, the old ones as well as the new ones, and the members, the old ones as well as the new ones. Shout out to my moderators for keeping the chat running smooth. You know, I most definitely appreciate y'all. Until I see you again, Sidewalk Gang, checking out. Man, y'all stay safe out there. I will catch y'all on the next one. I'm gone. Hold on. No, I'm not. I'm gone and not gone, but I'm officially gone now. Let's go. Hit that like button. Haters gonna hate anyway, man. Subscribe to the this channel, in the lab live. Used to bake pies, now I'm on YouTube on In the Lab Live. Hit the like button, yeah, go ahead, subscribe. Ain't no telling what you see, it's gonna be a long ride. Better open up your eyes, cause we be in the bitch till 7 in the morning. Coffee in one hand and the sweet got me zoning. Blocking all the haters, shout out my moderators. They make the show greater, main reason why we made it. So up on the top, I can't see the ground. Got these niggas mad, they love when I was down. Now nigga up, and they can't tell me shit. Shout out to Scale Gang and all my people in this bitch. I got haters, I got friends, I got product, I got ends. If I ever get a plaque, I know they gon' hate me then. Still rolling in that lag slow, hotter than Tabasco. Don't matter what you buying, I can get you what you ask for. Hottest in the streets, yeah, these niggas can't compete. We be grinding while they sleep, yeah, 7 days a week. I ain't tripping on the docks, telling niggas come box. Right, knock them out of socks, boy, you must be smoking rocks. Hey, this In the Lab Live, man. Subscribe to the channel, man.